ammunition with them on the 16th of August. What role were they to play? Well, let me phrase the question this way. How do you explain their presence on the 16th?
Chairperson, I did say that they were there in support of the POP members. And in case when POP becomes under attack, then they could defend the POP members.
Did that support function form part of a dispersal action?
No, Chairperson. It only form part of a defense in case they become under attack.
Thank you. In deciding to move on to stage 3, General, which includes the deployment of barbed wire, did you foresee that the strikers would come charging at the barbed wire when it was deployed?
Chairperson, I'm requesting that the question be repeated.
When you made a decision that time was now ripe to move on to stage 3, the dispersal action, and we know stage 3 includes the deployment of barbed wire, right? When you made that decision, did you foresee that if barbed wire is deployed, the strikers would charge towards the barbed wire?
No, Chairperson.
In your many years' experience in dealing with public order policing, including the deployment of barbed wire, have you ever experienced a situation where protesters, demonstrators, strikers, call it what you may, charge towards a barbed wire when it's deployed?
No, Chairperson.
And how many times did you have experience in the past of barbed wire being uncoiled in the context of a public demonstration or gathering? In your own experience?
Chairperson, I said the Chairperson wants the number, how many? I use it, as I said, in Ventersdorp. I use it in Mafikeng during public public service strikes. I use it.
For what purpose did you use it? Did you use it to protect the public, or did you use it to confine the protesters into a particular space, or to channel them into a particular direction?
Chairperson, we use it for various reasons. Maybe one will have to be very specific. In the case of Ventersdorp, in the case which I quoted, we used it because the protesters of Mr. Treblanche, they were going to have a clash with the protesters, with the ANC protesters. So we used the barbed wire to divide those protesters. To
keep them apart?
Yeah, to keep them apart, yes. And in the case of public strikes, all the public strikes that we had in we were using it to channel them and also to keep a distance, because normally they were marching to Mafikeng buildings. We use it to channel them, and we use it also to keep a reasonable distance from Parliament. In the case of the example that I quoted at Skierlek, then where the gentleman shot the people, which I use as an example, we use it to keep the public from going to the places where the people can be attacked. Like in this case, we thought of the farmers and all the people who could be used to attack. But there we use it as a filtering line, that we put a filtering line, the vehicles could be searched with the members of the police. Now, during the court proceedings, we use it to channel the public, and also to have only a limited number of the people to enter inside the court building. Yes, and in another strikes, like when it's a public service strikes, and where we use it to divide the line between the police as well as the line between the protesters themselves. That's right, Chairperson. So it will depend on the situation and the purpose that we are intending to do.
Yes, thank you.
General, if not charging towards the barbed wire, did you foresee that the protesters might move towards the barbed wire at all? Not charging, just moving towards it at all. Did you foresee that?
No, we didn't foresee that, but what we did foresee is that some of them, they will remain. There will remain others that have dispersed voluntarily.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Himrich. That's General, I have between 20 and 24 propositions in my re-examination that I want to put to you. 20 to 24, depending on how things go. And I'd like us to finish by tea. I'm at my fourth proposition. It has been suggested that some protesters had taken muti, which they believed would make them invisible, invincible, invulnerable, and strong. Now, did you, as CJOC, know as a matter of fact, when you formed the view that time was ripe to go to stage 3, that the mood, please listen very carefully to the question. As CJOC, did you know as a matter of fact, when you formed the view that we should now move to stage 3, that the muti that the protesters were taking would have the effect of making them invisible, invulnerable, invincible, and strong?
Chairperson, I will answer in the sense of what has happened and what came to my knowledge at that time. We know that there were vehicles that took muti to the mountain, that we know. And secondly, what we were informed in the JOCOM meetings is that protesters, they had dangerous weapons. They are going to resist the police, and they are going to fight. At the JOCOM, there was discussions of the muti, and that the view was never been brought to us either as an intelligence or as a what, or as a, I don't know that it will be as in paper to say they believed in this belief that they will be invincible, and they will not be seen by the police. But what is more important is that the police did not believe in that, and it was just a discussion at the JOCOM about this, but it has never been taken as a matter of fact, because it did not come to us as an intelligence.
Well, the intelligence was that the rituals did take place.
Correct, Chairperson.
Was any intelligence available as to what the belief system was surrounding the rituals?
Not as an intelligence, but it was just being discussed. I remember we spoke with General Edendale about it, but it never came as an intelligence that this is what they believed in.
Okay, if it didn't come as intelligence, then what was the discussion about? Was the discussion that those who underwent the rituals did believe or thought they might be invincible and invulnerable Was that discussion held at all in those terms?
No, Chairperson. It was held. It was not held in that line, but it was held in the line that they are going to use Muti to make them to be braved, and also taken from experience. But what they believed that they will be invincible, that didn't come through as an intelligence.
I think General Annandale said that it was discussed. I'm not sure about that, but I seem to remember he said it was discussed. But he certainly mentioned it in the context of what had happened at Implats, Impala Platinum. And apparently similar things had happened at Impala Platinum. And I seem to remember that he said that information had been received previously in relation to Impala Platinum, the events at Impala Platinum, to the effect that those who had the Muti had certain beliefs as to how effective it would be in protecting them. Is my recollection in that respect correct? Obviously, you don't know what he said because you weren't here, but you do know what's discussed in the doc. Is that correct? Is that the way the matter came up?
Chairperson, what we discussed at the JOCOM, it was the rituals that took place. The Muti bucket and what we were reported when the chopper was flying, to say that what will they believe, and as it will that they will make them brave, and so that they can take the police on. But the implants, I don't remember speaking to him with the implants. But I don't rule that maybe we have touched on that. But what we believed on is that for them to call the Inyanga, they wanted to take us on. And that intelligence came to say they are going to fight the police. They are also going to resist the arrest.
All right. General, I'm going to move on to the next proposition.
I'm sure that proposition is the right word, possibly themes and topics. Proposition gives a suggestion of some kind of leading, which I'm sure you're not going to do. But topics is perhaps a better phrase. Word.
I'm going to move to the next rubric. Topic. General, I'm sure you will accept that you had, it's one of two things. Either you had a torrid time explaining to the Commission, or the Commission had a torrid time understanding your explanation about why you said one of the reasons why you made a decision to move to stage 3 was that negotiations had failed. When Mr. Matunjwa hadn't come back from the copy to tell you at the JOC that negotiations had indeed failed. Let me first understand, do you understand what I've just put to you? Or do you want me to paraphrase and repeat it?
I understand what the advocate wants to ask me, because what the advocate wants to ask me is in relation to my statement in Triple H 3, when I said I briefed the Provincial Commissioner before 13:30.
Yes, let me ask the question then. There's a series of questions I want to put in this regard. At 6 a.m. on the 16th of August 2012, was the implementation of stage 3, the dispersal action, was it a foregone conclusion at 6 a.m. on the 16th of August 2012?
No, Chairperson, because there were certain expectations, like Mr. Matunjwa will go at 9 o'clock to address the protesters.
By 1 o'clock on 16 August 2012, around about that time, you are briefing, you said between 1 and 1:30, you were briefing the Provincial Commissioner about reasons for moving to stage 3. You remember that?
I remember, Chairperson.
Now, by that time, Mr. Matunjwa had not yet come back from the copy to tell you what or the level of success that he had, or lack of it, at the copy to try and get those people to lay down their arms as he had promised the previous evening on the 15th. Why did you take the view before Mr. Matunjwa had come back that negotiations had failed?
When I take that view, it was based at 9 o'clock. And at 6 o'clock meeting, we also say, at 6 o'clock, when we reported to our members, we were saying that Mr. Matunjwa will address the people at 9 o'clock. And then when I briefed the provincial commissioner, I briefed to her until up to at that stage of 9 o'clock.
I see. We have minutes of the special JOCOM. I think it's TT4. Do you have it with you?
Correct, Chairperson, I do have them.
It's EE, actually, not TT4. Exhibit EE.
Correct, Chairperson, I do have it.
Now, in paragraph 3 of that statement, what reason, if any, is given for taking the decision that was taken during that meeting? In fact, for deciding to implement it?
Is that Mr. Matunjwa was supposed to indicate at 9 whether the protesters on the copy were prepared to lay down their weapons. Then it was said that Mr. Matunjwa failed to provide feedback as agreed at 9 o'clock.
Now, as I remember the evidence, Mr. Matunjwa did come back from the copy after his address and came to report about his success or otherwise at the copy. What did he tell you? In other words, did he tell you whether he succeeded or not when he came to the copy to report?
Chairperson, he wanted to speak with the provincial commissioner. And I said the provincial commissioner is not there. He has gone to Fencrest to visit Lieutenant Baloy, who was injured. And then I said I will phone the provincial commissioner. I did phone the provincial commissioner, and the provincial commissioner said, no, talk to him, hear what he wants to tell you. And then at that time when I go back to him, I did not find him. He has already gone by that time. And then I tried to, I did instruct, I think it's General Edendale, I'll have to recall very well, to check with Major General Naidu whether Mr. Matunjwa has passed forward holding area 1 so that they should hear what he wanted to tell us. But General Naidu said that Mr. Matunjwa has already passed. And at that time, Mr. Matunjwa has also sent an SMS to Major General Edendale. And Major General Edendale did answer him. I did also try to phone Mr. Matunjwa, but I did not get him at that time.
Okay, well, if Mr. Matunjwa, General, had spoken to you, as you say, the provincial commissioner had indicated that he must tell you about the success or otherwise of his endeavors at the copy at around 2 p.m. that afternoon. If he had told you that the strikers at the copy had decided to lay down their arms and leave the copy, would stage 3 of the dispersal action still have continued?
Chairperson, no, because Brigadier Khalid, he was there always. Mr. Matunjwa was given a chance to address the protesters. So if after addressing the protesters, he went to Brigadier Khalid to say, no, the protesters are prepared to lay down their weapons, surely Brigadier Khalid could not have proceeded with the implementation of stage 3.
I'm going to move on to the next topic. Can I refer you, and I promise this is the only new document I'm going to submit. It's been suggested that the unfortunate passing of Warrant Officer Munene and Warrant Officer Lepaku and the assault on, is it Lieutenant Baloyi, may have been caused by the actions or conduct of the police, either directly or indirectly. Can I ask you to turn to a post-mortem report relating to Warrant Officer Munene and Warrant Officer Baloyi?
Chairperson, I do not have them.
Yes, it will be given to you.
Are they exhibits? Otherwise, I'll have to mark them.
I don't believe so, Chair.
Chair, these documents form part of Exhibit A, which is a composite bundle of the post-mortem reports.
Exhibit A.
Yes. In relation to Munene, the document is at 43, page 43 of Exhibit A. And in relation to Warrant Officer Lepaku, it's at page 48 of Exhibit A.
Get that? So these are parts of Exhibit A, and the one relating to Hendrik Tsietsi Muneni, that's at page 43 of Exhibit A.
At pages 43 to 47 of Exhibit A.
Thank you. And the document relating to Selo Roni Lepaka is pages 48 to?
48 to 52 of Exhibit A.
Thank you.
I'm indebted to my learned friend for the evidence leaders. General, may I ask you to turn to the post-mortem report in relation to Warrant Officer Lepaku. What does it say about the cause of death?
Chairperson, that is on paragraph E. It says head injuries.
And what chief post-mortem findings are there on his body?
I think you can lead him on that, Mr. Njavana. I wouldn't have thought the rules in relation to re-examination would prohibit that.
Chairperson, that is paragraph D. It says a black adult male with a history of multiple stab wounds, scalp laceration, fractured skull, subdural and subarachnoid hemorrhages.
I hope the transcribers will get the spelling right there.
If they don't, they can look at the exhibit to get the spelling. Would I be correct in saying that, and I don't want the slide to be exhibited, But am I correct in saying that slide 53 is a slide of the first, what's described as the first deceased member of the police? That, I take it, is, I think he was Lieutenant Lepaka. What was his rank? Was he Lieutenant Lepaka?
Warrant officer.
Warrant Officer Lepaka. They were both warrant officers, weren't they? So Warrant Officer Lepaka, that's a photograph of one at least of his injuries. It looks like it's slide 53. And the second member of the force, of the service, who was Warrant Officer Moneni, that I take it is slide 54, because that's the slide of someone who was not only hacked but also shot. I repeat, I don't want that slide to be shown. But am I correct in saying that, Major General?
I don't think he has he was looking at Exhibit L at the time, Chair. I've just asked for it to be found for him. Oh, take mine.
Just to repeat it, it looks as if slide 54, which is the slide of the deceased member of the police who was not only hacked but shot, that then would be, I take it, a photograph of Warrant Officer Moneni, and slide 53, which is a photograph of part of the head of the other deceased member of the police who was hacked and stabbed to death, that, I take it, is a photograph of part of the head of Warrant Officer Lepaka. Is that correct?
Correct, Chairperson.
General, with regard to Warrant Officer, I think it's Munene, we've dealt with Lepako. Is the cause of death head injuries? Let me continue in the way that you've been doing it. You've been leading me very nicely in this regard, General. What is the cause of death according to the post-mortem report in relation to Mr. Munene, Warrant Officer Munene's death?
Chairperson, that will be as far as paragraph E is concerned, head injuries.
And according to the post-mortem report, what chief post-mortem findings on a body are there?
Black adult male with a history of stab wounds and gunshot wounds, gunshot neck and chest wounds, scalp lacerations, fractured skull, cerebral multiple hemorrhages.
On the 13th, now these deaths we know happened on the 13th of August. On the 13th of August, were the police equipped with pangas, assegais, and sharp-edged weapons of the sort that would cause the kind of damage you've seen at Exhibit L, 53 and 54?
No, Chairperson.
I'll move on to the next topic, topic 8 of 20 or 24. May I ask you to turn to Lieutenant Baloi's statement? It has been referred to you on numerous occasions, or you have been referred to it on numerous occasions. It's triple G 1616. Have you found it, General?
No, Chairperson. It's not in here. It's not in.
Which paragraphs are you referring to?
No paragraph is specifically, Chair. It's general questions. May I just say that my copy that I've just handed the witness has highlights. Perhaps if the chairperson wants to satisfy himself, if it doesn't assist the witness, but they're not relevant.
I haven't got a problem. I haven't got a problem with that. I don't know. I doubt if my colleagues have either.
Thank you, Chair. General, is there anywhere, you have read this statement many times. We dealt with this in chief. You were asked cross-examine on it by no less than 3 cross-examiners. Is there anywhere in that statement where Lieutenant Baloy lays blame on you for the assault on him by strikers on the 13th of August?
No, Chairperson.
Is there anywhere in that statement where he says you instructed him to get out of his nyala?
No, Chairperson.
Is there anywhere in that statement where he says you instructed him to throw a stun grenade in the direction of strikers that were attacking him?
No, Chairperson.
Is there anywhere in that statement where he says you instructed him to fire rubber bullets or rubber rounds at strikers who were chasing him?
No, Chairperson.
Is there anywhere in that statement that Lieutenant Baloyi says you, as CJOC, put him in harm's way in any way?
Chairperson, I didn't hear the word. Is in what?
That you put his life or his body in danger.
Okay. No, Chairperson.
Is there anywhere in his statement where Lieutenant Baloyi says SAPS, as an organization, put his life and his health in danger on the 13th of August?
No, Chairperson.
Next topic. On 13 August 2012, Warrant Officer Kuhn shot tear gas while you were escorting the protesters towards the copy. Does the firing of tear gas qualify as the use of force?
Chairperson, to be precise, I will say less than lethal.
Yes, but it does qualify as use of force, correct?
Correct, Chairperson.
Standing Order 262 requires that use of force only be done on command either by the CJOC or the operational commander. You know that.
Correct, Chairperson, I know that.
Did you give Warrant Officer Kuhn a command to fire tear gas on the 13th of August 2012?
No, Chairperson, I did not give him a command.
Did he tell you why he fired tear gas?
Chairperson, he said he was ordered to fire the tear gas, but he does not know who ordered him to fire the tear gas.
Who was his commander?
According to SAPS 15, it was a captain, and that captain was falling under Lieutenant Colonel Selwani. But but according to SAPS 15, the commander was there. His name will be found there.
So his commander was part of the group that escorted the police, the protesters towards the copy on the 13th of August?
Correct, Chairperson, as he did appear in that SAPS 15.
I just interrupt you. Did you ever hear from Warrant Officer Kuhn whether the order to fire was received from him, was received by him on the radio, or he heard it being called out?
Chairperson, I will say no, whether it's either by radio or verbally. I did not ask him.
Did his commander tell you why Kuhn fired tear gas?
No, Chairperson.
Did his commander tell you that he gave Kuhn the command to fire tear gas?
No, the commander said he did not give him the command, that captain, because I did ask Lieutenant Colonel Silwani to go and ask the commander whether the commander give Kuhn the command. He says no.
In fact, your evidence was that at Rustenburg, when you explained that you hadn't given the command, and one of the officers there said he'd heard, I'm not quite sure whether he said he'd heard you give the command or he'd heard someone else say that you'd given the command. When that was said, you denied it. No commanding officer there or no officer there admitted having given the order. They all denied it. Is that right? So it wasn't only those under whom he was immediately subject who said that they hadn't given the order. There was a general denial of all the officers there at Rustenburg that they'd given the command. Is that right?
Correct, Chairperson. That was in Potchefstroom, but I just want to make sure whether that captain was also there. That one that appeared on the 15th.
And but whether he's there or not, something you can check now if you wish. But what you say is his commanding officer in turn said he spoke to him, and he said he had they reported back to you. It was reported back to you that it was denied that instruction was given by the captain also. Is that correct?
According to Colonel Silwani, yes, it's correct.
When did Warrant Officer Kuhn tell you about the reason he fired tear gas?
Chairperson, it was on the 13th, but not at the scene, because at the scene I was removed.
How long after the scene did he tell you?
It was during the evening of that 13th, but I cannot be precisely about the time.
Now, Clause 8.2 of Standing Order 262 says, as CJOC, you are responsible for all actions taken in an operation of which you are in overall command. What do you understand responsible to mean in that context, General?
Chairperson, in my understanding is that responsible means the members who have acted under my command, and the members acted in terms of my instructions. And if members acted outside those instructions, I cannot be responsible for them.
You became aware that Warrant Officer Kuhn had fired tear gas without command either from you or from his commander. His commander also became aware of this when you asked him. Whose responsibility was it that Warrant Officer Kuhn fired without command between you and the commander of Warrant Officer Kuhn?
Chairperson, I will say first, for the fact that he alleges that there was a command that was given. I also thought that even a section command could have given that. And the responsibility lied with me and his commander because they were there. To say it's Lieutenant Colonel Silwani and the captain that will appear in that 15. But with the benefit of the hindsight, I think I should have initiated the investigations, departmental investigation. And since he's in the POP in Gauteng, I should have followed it up with a letter to say that that investigation should be done. And he should actually be disciplined for not having acted within the contents of the Standing Order 262. And Chairperson, that is after my testimony, I will take it upon myself that that route and that should be followed. I don't know whether I should give the feedback back to the Commission.
That's for the Commission to decide. Now, General, when Warrant Officer Kuhn told you that he heard a command that he should fire tear gas, did you have reason to disbelieve him?
I did not have the reason to disbelieve him.
Why not?
For the fact that I could not hear whether the command was given or was not given to him, as he alleges by this an unknown command.
All right. Next topic, 11 of 20.
Before you move on from that topic, I'm looking for the relevant pocketbook. I can't find it, but I have a clear recollection of what was in it. One of the pocketbooks that was put in by the Human Rights Commission, I always make the mistake, the Human Rights Commission, contained a statement by the member concerned that he heard you give the command. But what he said was that the command was that tear gas must be fired, and also rubber rounds. And I think he said 1 tear gas canister and 2 rubber rounds per person. In other words, what he was recording was a general order or instruction allegedly given by you that to the members to fire in that way. Now, of course, that can't be right because only Kuhn fired. If there had been a general command of the kind that that person recorded in his pocketbook, then one would have expected more than one member to have fired off tear gas, because you told us previously that a number of them had tear gas. Isn't that so?
Correct, Chairperson.
So that allegation by that particular member who wrote that in his pocketbook was patently false. Is that correct?
Correct, Chairperson.
And in fact, unless it was an instruction limited to Kuhn, Warrant Officer Kuhn, do this. If it was a general instruction without anyone's name being mentioned, one again would have expected more than one person to have fired a tear gas canister. Is that correct?
Correct, Chairperson.
So, and I take it Kuhn doesn't suggest that the instruction was directed to him only, does he?
Chairperson, that I cannot explain, but because he used the tear gas, maybe he might also say it was not directed only to him.
Yeah, well, no, what I'm saying to you is that I'm trying to test the veracity of the allegation that you gave that instruction. And it seems to me, again, prima facie, and one must keep an open mind in these matters, but it seems to me, so far on the evidence before us, it looks seems very clear that you didn't give the instruction, because if you had, it would have been a general instruction. Certainly, if it had been as described by the one member in his pocketbook, more than one person would have fired. And generally speaking, if a general instruction had been given, more than one person would have fired. So it seems pretty clear, certainly on a balance of probabilities at this stage, that you are correct when you say you didn't give the instruction.
Correct.
I take it you wouldn't have a problem disagreeing with that. Problem agreeing with that, I mean. That's right, isn't it?
Correct, Chairperson.
I'm sorry to have interrupted you, but I don't think you'll find that point unhelpful.
Not at all, Chair. Thank you. Neither will the General. General, topic 11 of 20. Many people were shot and killed on the 16th of August, 2012. Do you, and one of the things that the Commission have to ascertain or investigate is the precise facts and circumstances which gave rise to the use of all and any force and whether this was reasonable and justifiable in the particular circumstances. I'm reading the terms of reference, paragraph 1.2.2. Do you, as CJOC, have any direct knowledge of the precise facts and circumstances in which people were shot and killed on the 16th of August 2012?
No, Chairperson, because I was not there, except what was reported to me and also what I saw on the TV.
So on the TV as the events were happening or subsequently?
No, it was subsequently is thereafter. Yes, it is after that.
As CJOC, you made it your business to find out what did happen. Is that correct?
Correct, Chairperson.
What did the people, the members who shot people and killed them, tell you were the circumstances? Very briefly.
Chairperson, they said in brief they did it in self-defense.
Do you hold yourself responsible for police members who shoot people, killing them, and saying they acted in self-defense or private defense?
No, Chairperson.
Topic 12 of 20. It was suggested to you that the manner in which the entire operation was handled, or the procedure in 262, Standing Order 262, was short-circuited. You remember that? You even asked what does short-circuit mean. You remember that?
Correct, Chairperson.
Now, Standing Order 262, I'm going to ask you to have it in front of you. It's Exhibit SS3, I think. Sorry, SS2. I think 3 is the plan.
This is 2.
Chairperson, I do have it.
General, SS2 talks of an authorized member who has certain specified functions with regard to gatherings and demonstrations. You'll see that in clauses 5 and 6. And the authorized member is defined in clause 2. Now take it to clause 2 first. The first page of the standing order, clause 2.
I do have it, Chairperson.
You see an authorized member is defined as a member of the service designated in terms of section 22A of the Act to help with the arrangements relating to gatherings or demonstrations. You see that?
I see it, Chairperson.
Was an authorized member designated?
Correct, Chairperson.
Was that done in writing?
Chairperson, as Deputy Operations, I remember that was done in writing, and it should actually be signed by the Provincial Commissioner. I can get that document to substantiate my submission. I will phone the member too.
Can you tell us who the authorised member was, and if someone queries it, then the point can be taken further, but I would imagine it's a formal fact that shouldn't be the subject of much dispute. So who was Captain?
Captain Governor of Marikana Police Station.
Captain Governor of Marikana, thank you. Yes. You said it yesterday, I think, actually. And
yeah, I said it yesterday, yes.
In fact, you do have written proof of that designation, have you not, General?
Yes, I do have it, Chairperson.
We shall make that available. He does have a copy. I thought perhaps it can be given to the commissioners and then copies can be made later.
Possibly at some stage later you can hand it in from the bar and we'll give it an exhibit number if it's necessary.
Thank you, Chair. Of course, it's in clause 4 that requires that the area commissioner must designate an authorized member in writing. Standing Order 262 also talks of a responsible officer. What role does a responsible officer play in relation to demonstrations and gatherings?
Chairperson, a responsible officer chairs the Section 4 meeting of the RGA.
Now, I've treated this as a separate topic, but it isn't really. So it can be taken to be topic 13, but it's really part of 12. One of the duties and responsibilities of an authorized member is to liaise with conveners of demonstrations and gatherings for consultation and negotiation purposes. Where the conveners of the strikers' gatherings at the copy during the period 9 to 16 August, known to you as CJOG.
No, Chairperson, the only people that I know were those that I spoke with, and which were not conveners. I could say they were protesters. And the 5 Madoda, which were communicating with Colonel McIntosh, and I took that they were representatives, but I did not take them as conveners.
Of course, this falls upon the authorized member. Do you know if the authorized member knew of the identity of the conveners of those demonstrations and gatherings between the period 9 and 16 August 2012?
No, Chairperson, and I did not ask him.
Do you know whether the responsible officer knew the identity of conveners of those gatherings and demonstrations?
No, Chairperson, and I did also not ask him. It's actually a member of the municipality. And I think Captain Govender will also know who is that member.
Next topic, also related. Topic 14 of 20. Clause 6 of Standing Order 262 places certain responsibilities on the authorized member. Can I take you there, General? Clause 6. It says, when an authorized member receives a notice or information regarding a gathering, the following action must be taken. The first is, if the authorized member receives a notice from a gathering, from a convener or gathering, do you know if any notice was served by the striking miners between the 9th and the 16th of August?
No, Chairperson, I do not know.
We know that information of these gatherings and demonstrations was received, correct? Although notice wasn't given, we know that information was received.
Yes, Chairperson, I'll say with regard to the 13th, the information was received when I was shown on the CCTV.
Now, the second duty of the authorized member, is it? No. Yes, of the authorized member is, if the authorized member receives information from other internal police sources that the gathering is to take place, then he is to consult with conveners and so on. I've already asked you the question. Let me ask you again in this context. Do you know if there were any conveners with whom the authorized member could consult and negotiate in relation to the demonstrations and gatherings between the 9th and the 16th of August 2012?
No, Chairperson. But I do not know also, did the authorized officer knew them?
We know from Exhibit L, slide 12, I don't have to take you there, that information, not notice, was received about an intended march for the 10th of August. We know you were not there, you were on leave. And that the authorized member was required to contact the convener. You've already told us you knew of no conveners. Now,
Chair, I don't want to be disruptive, but we don't know from L that this happened. That's an allegation in L, but L is not evidence.
that's correct, Chair. I'm indebted to my learned friend for reminding me. The third duty of an authorized member, it says if he or she is contacted by the responsible officer to inform him that a gathering is to take place, then the authorized member must make an attempt to gather further information pertaining to the proposed gathering using ACU information, I take it that's POP information network, and requesting a meeting in terms of Section 4. Are you aware of any Section 4 meeting in relation to any of the gathering and demonstrations by the strikers between the 9th and the 16th of August?
No, Chairperson, and also I did not ask either the authorized or the responsible officer.
General, what form do these notices generally take?
Chairperson, they come also in different methods. It depends on the knowledge of the people. Normally, I'll speak in general ways. One is that the person will either go to the municipality and talk with the responsible officer directly. Then the responsible officer will inform the authorized member about the date and the time for the meeting. And in other matters is that a person who doesn't know will go to a police station, and when he's at the police station will be advised to go to the municipality, and then he will follow the right procedure. The other one will go to a police station, but the members there in the community service center will refer him or her to a response to the authorized member. Then the authorized member will help that person how to draft a notice, and also informed the convener to send it to the responsible officer before 7 days.
Now, one of the things that the authorized member has to do is to gather information, as I've just indicated, about the proposed march and so on, using the information network of POPs. What was the status, the state of intelligence of the subs between the 9th and the 16th of August 2012, General? Was it reliable intelligence? Were there any challenges to it?
Chairperson, the intelligence that we use is what has happened, and with regard to the reliability, I'll say because it was something that was happened, one will say yes. But with regard to the challenges, yes, there were challenges with regard to intelligence, as I have already indicated. What challenges of different types of intelligence that we needed that we couldn't get.
Just explain briefly, remind us, what were those challenges? What were the difficulties that you had in gathering intelligence?
I did say that Brigadier Engelbrecht and also Colonel Isaacs, they were saying with a high rate of intimidation, and people were scared that they couldn't provide intelligence.
Now, in that climate, would the authorized member who has to use that intelligence have been able to gather information, useful information, about the gatherings and demonstrations of the strikers between the 9th and the 16th of August 2012?
I will say no, Chairperson, except tactical intelligence, which I spoke about, of what has happened.
Did you, as CJOC, consider Mr. Matunjwa and Mr. Zokwana as conveners of those demonstrations and gatherings?
Chairperson, I will say no, but we consider them as the leaders, and where those members were actually took them in high esteem, that they can listen to them as their leaders.
In your endeavors, General, to get the union leaders to talk to their members so that they can put down their weapons, were you performing the functions of an authorized member as defined in Standing Order 262?
No, Chairperson.
So what do you say to the proposition then that SAPS short-circuited Standing Order 262 procedure for handling of gatherings and demonstrations, in light of the evidence you have now given in relations to topics 12, 13, and 14?
No, Chairperson, SAPS did not short-circuit it, as I did not perform the duties of the authorized member, but I had to perform the duties of a CJOC, and at what time I perform simultaneously the responsibilities and the work of a CJOC and operational office commander.
You had already explained why you did that with reference to Fanaga law and so on. I'm not going to take you there.
Correct, Chairperson.
And Khalid's ability or otherwise of speaking Fanaga law. I won't go there. Topic 15 of 20. Clause 7 of Standing Order 262 talks of the assessment of threat levels immediately after notice or information about a proposed gathering. Was a threat level assessed or determined at the JOCOM? And if so, when? Well, let's ask one question at a time. Was a threat level assessed or determined at the JOCOM?
Chairperson, at the JOCOM to follow the procedure of the threat assessment for determination. And I think the POP members and crime intelligence can confirm that. But with regard to me as a CJOC, I did it on the 13th and I took it right through all out. But to confirm the paperwork and whether it was done in the manner that it's supposed to be done with the procedure, I think the POP member who's responsible for that, and whom we call a tactical information officer, who works under Lieutenant Colonel Merafe, and also Brigadier Engelbrecht, who is a crime intelligence, can confirm that in writing. But I can say that I did not see it during that time.
But your evidence is it was done?
The evidence is it was done according to what I saw on the 13th, taking also what has happened since I was on leave, to say it is threat level 3 and above.
After the events of the 15th, of the 13th, now going on to the 16th, was a threat assessment done?
Chairperson, for the fact that I have also already categorized it, I couldn't consider it to go and check the papers. But I did already categorize it, and that's why I'm saying that can be confirmed by either the officer responsible for that work and also with crime intelligence, because they normally sit and follow that procedure.
topic 16 of 20. Clause 9 of the Standing Order 262 says, you as CJOC, General, are responsible for a well-planned, coordinated action for the duration of an operation. You were criticized for intercepting strikers near the railway line without a plan. You remember that?
I remember, Chairperson.
Is it your understanding, with reference to the prescripts governing the conduct of the police, that if you see something unlawful but you don't have a plan, that you shouldn't do anything about it?
No, Chairperson. Chairperson, in my answer, I need to indicate this, and will also relate to an operation. If the members, they report on duty in a normal shift, and then there is, on the radio they said there is a bank robbery in progress, there will be no time to sit and do a plan. The members will respond according to their experience, according to how they have been trained. So in a spontaneous gathering, that will also happen in that manner. But both, Chairperson, in the terminology of the police, we refer them as operation. But in reality, the operation is the one that, and as I've said, the notice has been served. We plan all together with the role players. We also put responsibilities and to ensure that each one knows exactly what is he doing. And that is also referred as an operation.
Thank you, General. Topic 17 of 20. It's common cause that SAPS had a plan for the dispersal action of the 16th. It's been alleged that it's a Scots plan, but I think you've effectively dealt with it. I think the evidence deals with that. I'm not going to go far on that. But let me ask you this plain question. Do you accept that you are responsible for the plan, SS3?
Chairperson, maybe responsible in ensuring that it has to be planned and coordinated. In that sense, Chairperson, I will say yes.
Yes. Clause 9 says you are responsible for a well-planned and coordinated action.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. You talked about the WS3 starts with the plan relating to the 10th. And then there's one, so clearly you weren't responsible for that because you were on leave then. Your responsibility only began when you came there, is that right?
Correct, Chairperson, the one that I have signed.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I should have phrased that question more clinically. Do you accept that you are responsible, in other words, because Clause 9 says you are responsible for a well-planned and coordinated action. That must include the preparation and contribution to a plan for an operation. Do you accept that?
Chairperson, I do accept that.
Did you have any input in its preparation, in the preparation of the plan, from the 13th to the 16th?
Chairperson, I did say yes when it was presented, and also ensuring that the responsible people are tasked, and also in contribution, me contributing personally.
Yes, you've testified that you've made contributions and changes. You were challenged on the basis that nowhere does that appear in the minutes of the various JOCOMs. What would your response be to that criticism? That if you contributed, then it should have been minuted in the JOCOM minutes. What's your answer to that criticism?
Chairperson, I would say in the JOCOM, I know that minutes should be taken. With the situation at Marikana, I will firstly also say that the taking of the minutes, there were some challenges there. But also, in that sense, the minutes, the recording of the decisions were really recorded. Not everything that was said in the JOCOM was recorded. That one I will also accept.
All right. When you approved the plan, we're now not talking about the plan of the 10th, obviously you didn't take any part in that, the rest of the plan. Did you satisfy yourself that it was a sound plan? As CJOC?
I just wanted to say a sound plan.
A good plan.
Okay. No, thanks. Yes, I did take into account that it was a good plan.
Topic 18 of 20. It's been suggested very strongly, General, that because people died when SAPS sought to disperse people at the copy, this was a failure of public order policing. And I imagine by implementation, it was by implication, it was the failure of your plan. Do you accept that it was a failure of public order policing that caused the death of many people on the 16th of August 2012?
No, Chairperson. Chairperson, and my reasons are as follows. Firstly, as I have indicated, the different types of operations. The operation of Marikana was not an operation as intended, whereby we had conveners and we did not. That should be considered by this commission and the esteemed chairperson. And the second part is the plan, as I was informed, chairperson, as I have said, I was not there. As I was informed is that the plan was interrupted. The plan was not, the shooting happened where the plan was not yet implemented. And I will ask that that should also be considered.
It was partly implemented. The barbed wire was already uncoiled. That was the first part of the plan. But nothing thereafter had happened yet when the shooting occurred, as you point out. That's right, isn't it? To be strictly accurate.
Correct, Chairperson. That's what I was also informed, because it's when Brigadier Khalid gave the command to Colonel Makubela to put the barbed wire. So when in that process of the putting the barbed wire, I was informed that it's when then the plan was interrupted.
Thank you, General. Still on that theme, was it part of your plan that members could shoot people in self-defense or private defense?
Chairperson, that cannot be put into the plan, because the members, they do know that if my life or the life of my colleague is in danger, I can act.
Does Standing Order 262 contemplate acting in private defense, maybe even causing death? I think it may be permissible to lead the witness in that. If you look at clause 11, subclause
yes,
7.
It's there. You asked him if it's there. It is there. It's 11. We've seen it, looked at it several times.
The,
You've still got my copy of the standing order, but never mind, you can give back to me each time. But if you look at clause 11, I think it deals with it.
yes, Chairperson, I see it in 11, paragraph 7, to say common law principles of self-defense or private defense are not affected by this order.
Topic 19 of 20. I've just heard whispers that I must put more questions, which I'll consider, Chair. Topic 19 of 20. It's been suggested to you that 7 categories of what were called contemporaneous documents have been put before the Commission. Now, General, contemporaneous means a document that has been created at the same time as the events to which the document relates occur. Okay? That's what contemporaneous means. Do you know whether intelligence reports, TT5, were prepared at the time that the events recorded therein happened? Let me take you to TT5. The intelligence report.
Chairperson, I do have TT5 in front of me.
Can you have a look, General, at the second page of that document? You'll see it's dated the 28th of August 2012. You see that?
Correct, Chairperson.
You will see that it relates to events of the 16th of August, 21st of February 2012, 24th of February 2012, 16 May 2012, 17 May 2012, 11 August 2012, 10 August 2012, 12 August 2012, 13 August 2012, and 15 August 2012, and 16 August 2012. You see that?
Correct, Chairperson.
And the document itself is dated 28 August 2012. Would you say that document was created at the same time as these various events were unfolding?
No, Chairperson, but those that they are indicating the dates separately, I would say those were contemporaneous with regard to those dates.
The document appears to be quoting or reporting what had been conveyed at earlier stages. But if what is in each paragraph, numbered paragraph, is an accurate transcript of what was said at the time, that the document of which it purports to be a report would be contemporaneous. But the whole document itself clearly is not. It's a compilation after the event.
Correct, Chairperson.
Now, Chair, I'm only dealing with this because I'm not sure where the cross-examiner was going with this, so I don't want to leave anything to chance. It doesn't seem like an important point.
I'm not criticizing you. Some of the, I can't remember who the cross-examiner was, but some of the cross-examiners... Sorry?
It was Ms. Leroux, Chair.
Ms. Leroux. Yes, well, anyway, I don't think she made much of the point. Anyway, but if you consider that it's necessary for you to dot the I's and cross the T's to sort of deal with the point conclusively, I won't stop you. But I think it is, as I put it to the witness and he agreed. I don't know that anything else turns on the point, but
well, then I'll leave it here because it also treated dockets as contemporaneous documents, and I'm not sure how that's possible.
Loose construction of the word contemporaneous, wasn't
it? Topic 20 of 20, subject to instructions to my right. General, you were asked how would SAPS disarm people who had decided they are not going to disarm voluntarily. You didn't quite answer that question, if I may say so, satisfactorily. Would you care to try again?
Sounds a little bit like cross-examination, you know. But a re-examiner doesn't normally say your answer wasn't satisfactory, but could you try again? That's something the cross-examiner does. But
he didn't answer it in detail.
You didn't answer it in detail. Would you care to expand on the answer you gave before on that topic?
How do the police disarm people who refuse to be disarmed?
Chairperson, I said that the police are being taught different types of tactics of disarming people, but particularly when they are being taught how to do methods of arrest. The one that how to disarm a person in different ways. But why, Chairperson, I did not elaborate more. Maybe I need to get the leave from the Chairperson, because sometimes...
I was actually going to ask you that question too. It's something that I was interested to hear what the answer was. As I remember, Mr. LaRue took you up to a certain point and then stopped. And the last section, your explanation of the general statement you made, you didn't get a chance to give. So I think it's only right that this topic should be dealt with.
Because I said, that's why maybe I wanted your leave to on this matter, because I don't know whether when I say it here and I tell and the media picks up, and when the police there wanted to do it, will not put them in if I have to go in deeper details. I don't know, but I will get that permission from the Chairperson, because that is what I...
I understand the point you're making, and I'm a bit concerned about it actually, because if there are techniques which should remain confidential, obviously it wouldn't be desirable for it to be broadcast over the World Wide Web on YouTube for people all over the place to hear about it. Perhaps we can, I was going to suggest that we take the tea adjournment soon, because I understood you to say, Mr. Goodalwana, that further topics had been suggested to you for your consideration. So it might be sensible for you to, if I may say so, to take instructions on that during the tea adjournment, which we can perhaps take now, and we can possibly work out a way of... I think the answer is important, but I'm concerned about the point that's made. It might be possible for the information to be given in some way which is in camera, as it were, and it isn't broadcast on the World Wide Web and so on. But perhaps you can also think about that and discuss it with your learned friends, the evidence leaders as well, and your colleagues, because while it's important information, I understand the necessity to keep it as confidential and restricted as possible because of the sensitivity of the nature of the information.
Yes,
So shall we take the tea adjournment now, quarter of an hour?
I'm indebted, Chair.
Try to be back in quarter of an hour. The Commission resumes. I understand from Mr. Ngwana that he has a proposal to make, which he has discussed, I think, with the evidence leaders, as to how the problem we discussed before we adjourned can be solved.
Yes, Chair. It relates to the manner in which the police disarm people who refuse to be disarmed. I understand from the General that it's very sensitive information. So the evidence leaders and the legal team of subs have agreed that that evidence may be presented by way of affidavit, which, subject to the Commission's imprimatur, the General, though, wants to explain how some document that he says will be put together and attached to this affidavit. And we would hope that the affidavit with the annexure would not be widely distributed. And, of course, the chairperson will have the final say on these issues. That's that, Chair.
That seems to be a sensible way forward. Obviously, the affidavit circulation would have to be restricted, and the mechanism worked out for preserving its confidentiality. And I would imagine the way to do it would be anyone who is not either an evidence leader or a representative of the police who wants to see it would have to make special application, and the police and the evidence leaders would be heard on whether the application should be granted. I understand that in itself raises all sorts of issues, but they may be necessary. It may be necessary to have some kind of ruling of that kind, depending on the nature of the document. Obviously, one will decide when one sees the document. But if it is as sensitive as you say it is, and there's no reason to doubt your word on that point, then the matter's got to be dealt with appropriate sensitivity in response. One of the points raised by Advocate Hemraj, of course, is that one of the questions that may be raised is that if you have this technique, why wasn't it used scene 2 and so forth? But anyway, one doesn't know whether that question can appropriately be asked until one's seen the document. But anyway, when will we see the document? Obviously not today. We're resuming on Thursday. I anticipate this witness will be over, but I suppose if necessary, he can always come back for cross-examination and examination on this particular issue. Is that right?
Correct, Chair. Just one clarification, Chair.
Yeah, carry on.
It's not my word that I give that's a sensitive document. It's what my instructions are. So I don't know what.
Yes, sorry, I didn't. I understood that you were conveying your instructions to us, but there's no reason at the moment to doubt either your word or the word of those who gave you the instructions.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, the 3 questions that we had before we adjourned have now whittled themselves down to a single question. And they relate to a death of one person, a civilian, on the 13th of August, who was found next to the shack. General, may I ask you to turn to Exhibit L and look at slide 56. It shouldn't be shown on the screen, please. Should not.
On the screen. If there's anybody here who is linked in any way to what, can you remember what the gentleman's name was? I'm afraid I can't.
Mr. Marty. Is it Mr. Marty?
Mr. Marty.
Yes, Chair.
If there's anyone here, I think we must refer to him by his name in accordance with our practice. Is anyone here who is, if there are people across the way watching this on the TV screen, or even watching it on the World Wide Web, on the YouTube, if there's anyone here or watching this elsewhere who is connected in any way with Mr. Marty, who thinks, or indeed the other two, I think the other two people who were killed, the other two
On the 13th, yes.
civilians who were killed on the 13th are also depicted on the slide. And their names?
I don't have that information, Chair.
Perhaps we should get the names because it may be important. Can someone give us the names, please?
I'm told one of them is Langa.
Well, I think we should get that information before this. I'm able to give a warning and before the slides are shown.
Chair, the one protester's name is Semi Jokanisi, and the other name is Pumzile Sokanyile. Is Tembelake Mati.
So you've heard the names. Anyone who's related or a loved one or connected in some way with any of those three people, I must give you a warning that we're going to have a picture of their dead bodies depicted in a moment. That may cause distress and emotional turmoil to those who look at it. And I would ask that I haven't now got the time to elapse for the translation because we're having simultaneous translation, but that slide must not be shown until a minute has elapsed after I've stopped speaking. So that those who feel they will be upset by this, I suggest they look away, and we will announce later when they can look again when the slide is no longer being shown. I'll start the minute now. We're actually concentrating on Mr. Marty, who is the gentleman whose dead body was found with stab wounds in front of a shack in the informal settlement, close to the place where the engagement, if I can call it that, between the police and some of the strikers took place, or the initial engagement on the 13th of August. The slide may now be shown.
General, it's the slide in the bottom right, left-hand corner of the shot. The Commission hasn't yet been referred to the annex, the exhibit. It's Exhibit A, page 1, Chair.
Thank you.
We shall submit it as well, it's not necessary.
Post-mortem report on
the post-mortem
carried out in the body of the late Mr. Marty.
Correct, Chair. General, you have seen the post-mortem report. What does it say is the cause of death for Mr. Marty?
I do not have it with me.
To save time, may I suggest you read it to us, Mr. Ngulwana?
It says the cause of death is stab wound of right femoral vessels. Femoral.
Femoral.
Femoral
So one
vessel.
can see a lot of blood on the upper part of the right leg. So I take it that's where the stab wound was.
You don't have any reason to doubt that, do you, General?
No, Chairperson.
Chair, those are the questions that we have.
Thank you. We can now take the slide away. Those who stopped looking while the slide was being displayed can now look again. I'd like to ask you a few questions, General, but before I do so, let me find if my colleagues want to ask questions. No, not yet. I want to ask you a few questions first about the 13th of August. We were given copies of witness statements prepared by Mr. Mpofu, or settled, I take it, by Mr. Mpofu, time when he was still representing some of the victims. And Exhibit B3 is the statement of Simpiwe Boy. He was the gentleman who was present at the inspection in Loco, you remember, at the scene of the events of the 13th. And the other one is Exhibit H21. It's a statement by Olani Nzuza. I don't know if he was at the inspection, but I remember Mr. Boy. I take it you do also.
Correct, Chairperson.
In paragraph 33 of the statement of Mr. Simpiwe Boy, which, as I've said, is Exhibit B3, he deals, as paragraph 33, page 7, with his version of what was said. We'll lend you Advocate Hemraj's copy on two conditions. One, that you give it back, and secondly, give me back my copy of the standing order after we adjourn. Now, let me read you the... No, don't worry. Let me read you paragraph 33, or perhaps let's read it together. On 13 August, I was part of the delegation that was sent to K3. Everything went well until at the point when we met the police. Mambush negotiated with the police, who were led by General Mpembe. General Mpembe wanted the traditional weapons. We requested the police to accompany us to the Kopi, where we would hand over the weapons. We also told the police that the weapons were meant to defend ourselves against NUM official attacks. When the negotiations failed, and when the general started counting, we stood up, sang a song, and left. It seemed as if there was a non-verbalized understanding, in terms of which the police, understand non-verbalized means not put into words, non-verbalized understanding, in terms of which the police were to escort us until we got back to the Kopi. I think it's probably fair enough to say that the last statement about the non-verbalized understanding is correct. Would you agree with that? After all, your instructions to your members were to escort them to the Kopi.
Yes, Chairperson, by me not telling the...
Yes.
Okay.
I think it was what I mean by non-verbalized understanding. They picked it up from your actions and your body language, I take it. The statement goes on. Then, out of the blue, I later heard shots being fired by the police. There was first tear gas and stun grenades fired by the police. Thereafter, live ammunition was used. We ran until we got to the Kopi. At the Kopi, Mambush addressed the crowd and reported back on our journey. The two injured men that had been shot by the police were taken to hospital. If the police had not fired at us without any reason, all the 5 people who reportedly died in that incident, including 2 policemen, would be alive today. I only learnt that 5 people lost their lives in that... sorry, I'm reading that badly. I only learnt later that 5 people... Sorry, I'll read it again and get it right the third time. I only learnt later that 5 people lost their lives in that incident. And then he goes on in paragraph 34 to say, I reiterate that we were a very small group which posed no threat whatsoever either to the police or any other person. The shooting which sparked the violence was completely unnecessary, and all the deaths should accordingly be laid squarely at the door of SAPS. Now, I read the whole passage. Would you care to comment on it? You may well find it appropriate to take it sentence by sentence or a number of sentences together, but that's his version. And settled by his erstwhile counsel, I think he's still his counsel really, settled by Mr. Mpofu and filed as being the statement of what he was going to say if he gave evidence before this commission. And if, of course, Mr. Mpofu comes back, either in whatever circumstance he comes back, if he comes back, I take it, he will be led in evidence. If Mr. Mpofu doesn't come back, it may be necessary for us, and if we continue and don't grant the postponement sought, it will be necessary perhaps for him to be subpoenaed. But this is the version, in the words, in his statement prepared, as I've said, by his own counsel. The copy I have isn't signed, but I assume that there may well be a signed copy somewhere. Would you care to comment on it? Take your time, take it sentence by sentence or group of sentences by group of sentences, because I'd like to hear your reaction to what is said.
Chairperson, on the line on say, I was part of the delegation until that General Mpembe wanted the traditional weapons. I did not only say traditional weapons, I said all weapons that they did have, they were in possession of. And on that day, they were in possession of different weapons. Maybe a traditional weapon, in my understanding, it's only a Knopkiri, a Zulu traditional weapon. But there they had Ngolas, they had also eggs, and they had also different, and Ngolas, this one, sharp-pointed weapons.
I think we saw on the video what the weapons were.
Yes, correct, Chairperson.
And I know some people's traditional weapons may not be other people's traditional weapons, but on your description of it, some of them don't qualify for that euphemistic expression, traditional weapons. Would that be right?
Correct, Chairperson. Hence, I highlighted it.
Advocate Hemraj points out that you specifically said on the video, I want all your sharpened instruments, or words to that effect. Oh, you didn't want their knob carriers and their sticks, did you?
Yes, Chairperson. Firstly, I said I wanted those things, and then later I describe it as dangerous weapons.
Yeah, okay. So that's your comment on the passage up to the statement. General Mpembe wanted the traditional weapons, and then you
correct,
go on with your commentary or reaction or response to the rest of the section I read you.
Chairperson, I say it here, and also on the video appears to say we requested the police to accompany us to the copy where we would hand over the weapons. Chairperson, even on the video, I said to them, I want them here. And they said to me, no. I said, I was talking Zulu, I said, nizwangipha zona kuphi? But a copy, they said, Paya. Then I said, where Paya? Say, a copy. Then I asked them, is it where you were coming from? They said, yes. So then in my understanding is that accompany us to the copy, and there, not only us, even those that are left there, we will give you the dangerous weapons.
Is that your response to that particular sentence?
It is my response and my understanding while from their request on that.
Yes, I understand. And then the next sentence is, we also told the police the weapons were meant to defend ourselves against NUM official attacks. Did they? I think there is something on the video about that, isn't there?
Correct, Chairperson. And in my understanding, this one I did not tell them, Chairperson, because at that stage I did not know whether the NUM did attack them on the weekend because I was not there.
No, it's not suggested you told them that. It's suggested that they told you that the weapons were meant to defend themselves against NUM official attacks. Did they say that to you? They said something along those lines, I remember from the video.
No, Chairperson, is correct that they said they wanted those weapons to protect them against NUM. Chairperson, in my understanding is that when they requested us to escort them, I thought that their NUM is somewhere. But at that point, NUM was not there. So then also I have in mind to say, but they might be also the people that might go and attack those that were not on duty, because I don't know. Then when they said they have this for themselves to protect against NUM, it's when I made it even clear to the commanders to say, it's either we leave, if we don't escort them, if they get attacked, they will have a case against us. Because they will say, they told us that we should not disarm them because NUM is there. So then we need to escort them. If NUM is somewhere and does attack them, then we need to defend them. But I did not say it to them, Chairperson. I only used that when I was briefing the officers, when I came to the conclusion of saying, let us escort them.
Sentence is, when the negotiations failed and when the general started counting, we stood up, sang a song and left. Is that correct?
Chairperson, I agree with that one. But the only thing that he does not put there, Chairperson, is that he didn't put the song and what is the meaning of song and the interpretation of the song.
Tell us briefly what the song was and what it means.
Chairperson, with your permission, so that I should not be charged with public indecency or vulgar words.
I'm afraid if you're in a court or in a commission where you're asked to say what people said and they said something offensive or indecent, you can't be blamed for that because you're simply reporting what they said. So any ladies who feel they might be offended, I'll give them 30 seconds to leave. It's on the video. We've had it already. There was a bowdlerized translation initially, I think, by Mr. Mslangu, but then later on we got the unbowdlerized version. But tell us shortly, just remind us what it was. You don't have to give us all the words.
Yeah, Chairperson, the song, while they were singing this song, there was a click. So as I said in my statement, I understand the culture. So once they sing that qinisa masende ndoda kuthi into efunayo ungeke uyithole lula, meaning that you must tighten up your testicles because what you want, you're not going to get it easy. So to me already informs me that I must know that I'm not going to get what I want easy. And what I wanted at that time, it was to get the dangerous weapons.
I'm reminded that there's some confusion about the exact description of the exhibit, but apparently it's RR2, and it's page 4. Those words are quoted, and I think the translation is given in an unbowdlerized form. So anyway, you've repeated it now.
To repeat the word?
I said you have repeated it.
Okay.
What I'm saying is, though, it's transcribed in the vernacular on page 4 of the exhibit, which we are informed is RR2.
Correct, Chairperson. Chairperson.
You were explaining the cultural aspect of that. You said you heard clicks, you heard this song with these offensive expressions in it. Did you want to say something about how what you understood the situation to be?
Yes, Chairperson. At that time, I realized that what I wanted in terms of these dangerous weapons is not going to be easy because I might tighten up my testicles. And that might not be possible. Chairperson, that is what influenced me to give them the counting. Because even though I was letting them to march illegally and to carry weapons, I couldn't at that stage let them to continue carrying the weapons. Then is when I give them the counting, Chairperson. And when I give the counting, I was actually expecting them to hand over the weapons, which I did really expect at that time. But with that song and with my with that song, I could realize that yes, they are determined to do anything. They will take us on. But for the fact that they communicated with me, I couldn't say, for the fact that they communicated with me, they didn't attack us, that gave me a hope that nothing could happen on the way. They are honest by saying, go with us, and then we'll hand over the weapons to you. Because I did explain to them, to say, after I've spoken to you here, I am going there to the mountain. And those that are at the mountain, I'm going to tell them that their actions of staying at the mountain with dangerous weapons is illegal. So in my understanding, it was that we agree on that one.
So the next sentence, it seems as if there was a non-verbalized understanding in terms of peace, in terms of which the police were to escort us until we got back the copy. That's correct. You've said that already.
Correct, Chairperson.
Then the next sentence is, then out of the blue, I later heard shots being fired by the police. There was first tear gas and stun grenades fired by the police. Thereafter, live ammunition was used. Now, would you like to comment on those sentences?
Chairperson, I couldn't say that live ammunition was used. With regard to the tear gas, as I've explained, yes, the tear gas was used and the stun grenade was used. And I did explain that to say, with regard to my earlier briefing to the commanders, and I did not hide it, I said, which is non-verbalized to them, I said to the commanders, we should not allow them to go through the informal settlement, neither to go to that shaft. But I did not tell them that I told the police that. And so I thought that then the commanders, they informed the members, their members, that the general has said they must not go there. Hence I was keeping on saying that the shooting of the tear gas by Warrant Officer Kuhn could have been done with my earlier briefing, even though I did not give the command.
We can talk about that later. I'm just getting your reaction to what he said. Now, what he alleges is there was tear gas. Well, there was tear gas. And there were stun grenades. There were stun grenades.
Yes, but not...
What he says is thereafter live ammunition was used. Now, did the live ammunition follow immediately on the tear gas and stun grenades, or did something happen in between the tear gas and the stun grenades before the live ammunition was used?
No, Chairperson,
There's something from their side, not necessarily from your side.
Yes, Chairperson. The only time that I know the live ammunition has been used, it's when the police were attacked, and they used it in self-defense.
Then says they ran away. Well, I think that's correct, is it not? They ran away. There was an incident, I don't know if you know about it, on the other side of the river. One of them apparently was shot on the scene. They then ran away in the direction of the Kopi, according to the evidence we've heard. And one of them was shot on the other side of the river. You know, the body was found there. Do you know anything about that, or were you not present when that happened?
Chairperson, I'll say I do not know anything about that one, and I will explain.
You don't have to explain. If you weren't there, you don't know about it. Unless you want to say something.
Yes, but I did know, but not on that day. Later thereafter.
You heard about later.
Yeah, when actually there was when we were doing the inspection in loco, and then.
Yeah, that after the commission was appointed.
Yes,
yeah,
and
so
then
we don't have to go there, I don't think.
That's it.
Right.
But I need also to say that immediately thereafter, that's why I stopped them and then I was taken to the. That's why I did not know about that one.
Yes, no, we've already heard that. And then he then says we ran until we got to the Kopi. At the Kopi, Mambush addressed the crowd, reported back on our journey. So I don't suppose you have to deal with that sentence. Anyway, you weren't at the Kopi, you don't know what Mambush did. And then the two injured men that had been shot by the police were taken to hospital. I take it that's correct.
Is it the two members were taken to the hospital?
No, the two injured men who'd been shot by the police. I take it there were also strikers who were injured, not just the two who were killed, two or three. We'll come to the third in a moment. There were, as I understand it, also strikers injured. Is that correct? Who were taken to hospital?
Correct, Chairperson, and they were taken to the hospital by the police with the assistance of the mine ambulance.
Yes. Then the next sentence is, if the police had not fired at us without any reason, all the 5 people who reportedly died in that incident, including 2 policemen, would be alive today. And do you have any comment on that?
Chairperson, I really have a comment on that. If the protesters, they did give me the weapons when I requested them and I persisted them. And Chairperson, I even said why I went there, because I did not send Brigadier Khalid because I could see at that stage that the situation needs me, a person who understands them, that I can talk their language, they will understand what I will say. And in my communication, nobody can ever say he did not understand me. So what I'm saying is, Chairperson, if at that stage they have handed me the weapons and they have requested me to escort them, we could have escorted them. And if we saw them, as we saw them veering to the direction of the settlement, if we have used a tear gas, they could have got nothing to use to attack us or to attack the police. And we could have defended them to any attack that could have come to the NUM, as they allege that they were armed for protecting themselves against the NUM. And surely the police could not have attacked them on their way to the Kopi.
What he says is, if the police had not fired at us without any reason, all 5 people who reportedly died would be alive today. Now let's break that up. Obviously, the tear gas and the stun grenades in themselves wouldn't have caused anybody's death. Is that correct?
Correct, Chairperson.
I take it the strikers who died, and those who were injured too, died. I'm not talking about the third man, because he was only stabbed. But the 2 strikers who died as a result of being shot by the police. Whether the police were justified in doing it is not the issue. But it's correct, is it not, that the 2 strikers who were shot by the police, they wouldn't have died if the police hadn't fired at them. That must be right.
Chair.
Yes, I asked the question on the assumption, I'm not sure it's been established yet, that the 2 miners who died, who were shot by the police. It may be that hasn't been established either, but on the assumption that that's correct, this is what they say. See? Now, the shots, you say, were only fired after they had in fact attacked the police. That's your evidence. Is that right?
Correct, Chairperson.
Yeah. Now, of course, the stun grenades, which wouldn't have killed anybody, might have created the impression on the part of the strikers that live ammunition was being used. I think you conceded that. Is that correct?
Correct, Chairperson, but knowing very well that it was not live
No,
ammunition.
I know that. No, I know. But
yes,
a striker who has a stun grenade, who doesn't know about stun grenades, who has a stun grenade fired at him or near him, might think, particularly when he hears the noise, that live ammunition is being used. Is that correct?
Seeing the noise, yes, he might think that.
Yeah. Right. Anyway, I don't think we have to go any further with this point. And then he says in 34, I reiterate, we were a very small group which posed no threat whatsoever either to the police or any other person. 2 points. Were they a very small group?
Chairperson, to me, with those dangerous weapons, I did not see them as a small group.
How many were there?
Chairperson, in my estimation, I said that 100 or between 100 and 200.
So that's not a small group in anyone's language, I take it. That's not a small group.
Yeah, it is not a small group.
Not a very small group.
But what was more important, Chairperson, to see that the weapons that they are using. Chairperson, may I explain this?
Yes,
if you may allow me.
Please go ahead.
I know that I might talk a history here, but in my belief, and that came in my mind, that I know that a Zulu person and a Nguni-speaking person, even if only with a dangerous weapon, in the history that I have studied of the war that was Esandlwana, where the Zulus defeated the English army. So that to say, but with Ngulas, I could see it could be more dangerous, because it is not only what is a traditional weapon, but it's also another weapons.
Yes, I understand. So just to sum up your answer so far, you don't agree they were a very small group, and you don't agree that they pose no threat. Is that correct?
Yes, Chairperson.
Right, then the second statement is a statement of Olani Nzuza, Triple H 21, and he deals with the matter in paragraph 8, 9, and 10. You got it in front of you? He told earlier in the statement how they went to the K3 shaft to request the mine management to close the mine and so forth. And then he explains how they came back. And he says in 8, after passing the bridge again and near the Korea Mine Time Office, we were again stopped, this time by members of SAPS. Upon seeing them, we knelt or sat down as a signal we were not fighting. Their leader told us he wanted us to surrender our weapons. We told him via our spokesman, Mambush Noki, that we were not fighting with anyone, the weapons are only for self-defense against further attacks by NUM, that we would surrender the weapons once we reached the Kopi. As a compromise, we asked the police to escort us back to the Kopi. After a long debate, the leader of the police, General Mpembe, said he would count to 10, after which there would be trouble. We then decided to sing a song and proceeded to the Kopi. It looked like the police had decided to escort us as requested. All of a sudden, the police released tear gas into the crowd, followed by stun grenades and live ammunition from the ground and from a helicopter. There was pandemonium with strikers running away, mainly in the direction of Kopi. Some of the policemen were among the fleeing crowd, and there were violent encounters with the strikers. I saw one of the workers collapsing in front of me and realized he'd been shot by the police fire. Some of the workers were fighting back. The majority of us somehow managed to escape and run back to the Kopi. Some of us assisted the injured back to the Kopi, and they were rushed to the hospital. I personally tried to assist another injured worker, but we were forced to leave him next to a shack and continue running. When I eventually arrived at the Kopi, I found Mambush busy giving a report back to the crowd. Now, that's the section that's relevant. Now, do you have any comments to make on that?
Correct, Chairperson. Chairperson, with regard to the self-defense against NUM, it will remain the same as I've said earlier on, and my also escorting briefing with the members. But I did not say them there will be trouble, because I knew that that word could have make them to feel more anger. I even said to them, I want those weapons, but when I count to 10, I only want dangerous weapons. I even emphasized in Zulu, Bela. I didn't want to say to them, you will get trouble. And
interpose by saying what you in fact said and what happened, that is visible, I think, on the video.
Correct, Chairperson. And then, Chairperson, also to the escorting, and this is the second person that confirms, then it was my understanding that then they did expect us to escort them. Chairperson, with the police releasing tear gas, I already said that was done, and also the stun grenade. But I deny, Chairperson, that the live ammunition was used and one protester went down.
Well, live ammunition was used, but on your version, it was later on, after the strikers had attacked the police. That's your version, that's right?
It's correct, Chairperson, but the way in which he put it here, and if a live ammunition was used at that time, surely one could not have died more people could have died there because the bullet could have hit many people. And that's why I'm saying we only use the live ammunition when the individual were attacking the police.
Was live ammunition fired from the helicopter? That's the other statement he makes.
Chairperson,
to your knowledge.
As far as to my knowledge, no live ammunition was fired, but stun grenades were fired, Chairperson.
Colonel van Markel answer that.
Chairperson is Colonel Vermaak, and I need also to say Captain Lust was also in that chopper.
It then goes on. Sorry, you want to comment further?
Yes, Chairperson. Then this thing of saying some of the workers were fighting back. Chairperson, there is no protester that was fighting back. They actually attacked the police. They actually attacked. They actually take the police on. It's not that they were fighting back as if there was a fight between them and the police.
So those are essentially your answers to the versions of these two witnesses who were going to be called by Mr. Mpofu.
Correct, Chairperson.
Thank you. Now, I'd like to ask you a few other questions about the 13th. When the group of miners, of strikers, marched off to the Kopi, as you've discussed, how many Nyalas went onto the gravel road to their right and were lined up to the left of the informal settlement? As I understand the position, originally you had the Nyalas more or less parallel with the railway line. Is that right?
Correct, Chairperson.
But I think one can see from the video that the Nyalas then moved, and some of them went along the gravel road, which was between the field where they were marching and the informal settlement. Is that correct?
Correct, Chairperson.
Did you send them there?
Chairperson, also these, to say specifically to the members, go there. I did not say it, but I take it that with my earlier briefing again, because they could use those Nyalas to veer off if the people come there.
Your earlier briefing was they must make sure the people the strikers don't veer off into the informal settlement.
Yes, Chairperson.
Because you feared there might be trouble about that.
Yes, Chairperson, but doing that, you could use a Nyala to channel.
Yes, I understand that. Now, what I want to know is how many Nyalas were there on that gravel road between the field and the informal settlement? Can you remember?
Chairperson, in my understanding, there were two Nyalas, and there was a Nyala where Warrant Officer Lepaku was in. And there was also a Nyala that was used by Lieutenant Baloy, and where Warrant Officer Monen was in.
But anyway, the point is you, as a consequence of the instruction you gave, these Nyala, the two Nyalas you spoke about, and I know about the Paku's Nyala as well, went to form a barrier, as it were, between the marching strikers and the informal settlement. Is that correct? That was a precaution taken effectively to give effect to the instruction you gave. Is that
correct, Chairperson? That was my understanding also.
Now, you were on the extreme right, you explained to us, of the group of police who were walking behind the strikers. Is that right?
Correct, Chairperson.
So you could see the extreme right-hand side of the strikers, you could see the informal settlement, and you could see the Nyalas. Is that right?
Correct, Chairperson.
And if it had been necessary for you to give any instruction that tear gas be fired or anything of that kind, you would have done so.
Correct, Chairperson.
And you didn't.
Yes, Chairperson.
Now, the next question I want to ask you is, you've already dealt with a number of the other aspects that are relevant. I won't repeat. I'd now like to move on to the 15th. You have told us about the interview you had with the two presidents of the trade unions. In particular, you told us about what you said to Mr. Zakwana. Now, would you explain to me what exactly you said to him that was untrue? To say you said something that was untrue. If I misunderstood, then please correct me. Did you, perhaps put it this way, you're looking puzzled. Did you say anything to him that was untrue, Mr. Zakwana?
Chairperson, if you say it was untrue, are you referring to when I said...
No, I'm asking, did you say anything to him that was untrue?
Chairperson, to him what I said, and maybe that's why the chairperson will interpret it as untrue, is to say to him what has happened.
Don't misunderstand me. I'm not suggesting to you that you said anything was untrue. I'm just asking you a simple question. Did you, in fact, say anything to him that was untrue?
Chairperson, what I said to him that I know I wanted him to make sure that he takes the matter seriously is that what is happening now of people dying, and they can die also. And that is what I was emphasizing. Whether it was true or not true, I might not be saying it was untrue, because taking with what was happening.
Right. Well, let me put the question from a slightly different angle. Did you deliberately say anything to him that you knew was untrue?
I'll say no, Chairperson, because what I was saying, it was based on what was happening. And I wanted him, he must take that matter seriously to say, hey, this can also happen.
You wanted him to get his members to give you the information as to where people had weapons in the hostels and in the shacks in the informal settlement, so that you could send your men to those hostels and to those shacks to disarm the people and get their weapons. Isn't that right? You needed that information. And without that information, obviously, it was difficult to disarm the people in their homes, whether they lived in the hostels or the shacks. Is that right?
Correct, Chairperson.
And you stressed to him that you need the cooperation of his members in order to achieve what he'd asked you to achieve, namely to disarm the strikers. Is that correct?
It is correct, Chairperson.
Now, I want to deal with another aspect that I'm going to deal with it fairly obliquely, because part of your evidence we haven't got yet, and we're only going to get it in a confidential form. It's the question of how you can with a firearm can disarm someone with an axe. Now, the difficulty that you had, as I understand it, and if I'm wrong you must correct me, the difficulty that you had was that you knew these people had, to use your word, been psyched up. They'd been involved in this engagement on the 13th, and also you knew they'd received muti. Is that right?
It's correct, Chairperson.
Which obviously gave rise to a false sense of confidence as far as they were concerned. I mean, the muti wouldn't work, but if they believed it would, that would give rise to false bravado, a false sense of confidence, and you knew that, isn't that right?
With regard to false bravado, yes, Chairperson.
Yes, sir. And to use another one of your expressions, they would be prepared, rather foolishly in the circumstances, to take on the police. Is that right?
Yes, Chairperson, because that was also provided as part of intelligence, to say they will resist arrest and they will not hand over their weapons.
So the danger existed, I take it, and you foresaw this, I would think, that when your people tried to disarm the strikers, even if they used these confidential methods that we're going to hear about later, there was a danger that the person whom you were trying to disarm might attack the policeman, as in fact happened in the Captain Kidd's case, might attack the police with his axe or his spear or his cutlass or panga, whatever it was. That's right, isn't it? There was that danger.
Correct, Chairperson.
And even though he obviously wouldn't have wanted to do it, the policeman concerned who was trying to do the disarming, or someone who was with him, would have been obliged to defend himself or his colleague. Is that right?
If Chairperson may repeat the...
I say, if that happened, if the striker who didn't want to be disarmed and had this false bravado and so on, he might have attacked the person who was trying to disarm him, as happened in the case of Captain Kidd. And either the actual potential disarmer or his colleague would have been obliged to have acted in either self-defense or private defense. Isn't that right?
It is correct, Chairperson.
And so there was a danger that even though the police concerned would have been acting legally, there was still a danger that the striker concerned would have either died or been injured in the attempted disarmament operation. Is that right?
Chairperson, as I indicated, that the steps to minimize that risk.
Yes, I understand it could be minimized. You were very careful to use the word mitigate.
Yes.
I thought minimize might be a better word, but never mind. We don't have to fight about the word. Clearly, the steps were designed to minimize that. But without going into them, I think it's clear from what you've told us that it was impossible to eliminate the risk completely. That must be right. Do you agree with that?
Yes, Chairperson. I was looking at the injuries,
yes,
but not the death.
Well, the injuries, you could have fatal injuries or non-fatal injuries. I mean, people are injured.
Yes,
some of them die from the injury, some of them don't. Is that right?
Yes, Chairperson.
But there was a risk of bloodshed that you foresaw. Is that correct? And you were concerned to avoid bloodshed if possible. That is evidenced by your very proper behavior on the 13th. Would you agree with that?
Chairperson, with regard to the, let me say yes, but not at that scale.
No.
As I've said with the firearms.
I don't think anyone can suggest, and if they try to suggest it, I'll listen to them patiently, but I don't think anyone can suggest that you foresaw for a moment that there'd be bloodshed on the scale that took place.
Yes,
it
Chairperson.
was far from your contemplation. Am I right?
Correct, Chairperson.
But what you did foresee, the possibility, as you've conceded very fairly and very honestly, you did foresee the possibility of bloodshed. That's right. And that's in fact why, I take it, you said to Sekwana, look, the best way to deal with this thing, the only way really to do it without bloodshed, is you tell me where the weapons are, and I'll send my men to get them. That's what happened, isn't it?
Correct, Chairperson.
Now, let's move on to the 16th. Now, there are a number of points I don't understand about your evidence. The first thing I want to deal with is this decision that you say you took at 1 o'clock. And you discussed it again this morning when Mr. Ngulwana questioned you. Just give me in a sentence, what precisely was that decision?
Chairperson, if I may check it in terms of my HH3.
Yes, you can do that. Decision that I think you said you took it about 1 o'clock. All right.
It was before the meeting of 13:30.
It's before the JOC meeting at 13:30.
Correct.
I think you said it was about 1 o'clock. Nothing really turns on that.
Yes, correct,
About
Chairperson.
1 o'clock.
Yes, correct, Chairperson.
What exactly was the decision?
Chairperson, it is the briefing that I did to the Provincial Commissioner. It was when Major General Ellendale was to prepare the meeting and chair the meeting.
I gave a briefing, but I want to know, I understood you to say you made a decision. I understood you to say, if I misunderstood you, you must correct me, but I understood you to say, in your capacity as CJOC, as the overall commander of the operation, you made a decision which you communicated to the Provincial Commissioner. Did I understand you correctly?
Correct, Chairperson.
Now, what was that decision stated in the sentence?
The decision of going to stage 3.
That meant, in effect, a decision to use force to disperse and disarm the strikers if they didn't voluntarily lay down their arms. Is that correct?
Chairperson, in my understanding, it was in the manner as I explained.
He said, no, but am I
yes.
summarizing correctly? I mean, obviously, if they laid down their arms voluntarily, you didn't have to go to stage 3, did you?
Correct, Chairperson.
And if they didn't lay down their arms voluntarily, what you wanted to do was well, I think there were 3 things actually, but let's take them one by one. You wanted to disperse them, you wanted to disarm them, and in the case of some of them, you wanted to arrest them. Is that right?
Correct.
That's what it's all about.
Correct, Chairperson.
And you decided that had to be done that day after you communicated it to the provincial commissioner around about 1 o'clock. Is that right?
Not necessarily at that time, but
that day.
Yes, Chairperson.
Yeah. Now, I must tell you, I've great difficulty in understanding your evidence on that point, and I'll tell you why. I've got a couple of problems. I must put them to you. The first is, you were at the media briefing which the commissioner held at about 9:30 that morning. Is that right?
Correct, Chairperson.
And you, did you hear what she said?
Correct, Chairperson.
Tell me, before she had the briefing, did you talk to her at all?
Chairperson, we didn't speak even about what will be the media briefing about, but we were just giving her feedback of what was happening.
General Annandale, in fact, said that he was surprised by what she said. Were you surprised too?
Actually, what she said there, it was what I thought I reported to her, to say, to me, it seemed as if she was referring if the process which we thought of Mr. Matunjwa.
Yeah. All right. Well, let me read you what she said. It's page 7 of Exhibit HHH 40. It's line 13 and following. Have you got that exhibit?
I understand.
Have you got it?
I will, with respect, if Chairperson can read it to me, yes.
Having stated the problem and what it preceded it, she said, line 13, as the police, therefore, I think it's being handed to you, page 7, line 13. Got it?
Page 7, line 14.
Line 13.
Yes, Chairperson.
Well, perhaps one should actually start at the foot of page 6, just to see it in context. Line 25, page 6. You got that? I also want to indicate to everyone that we cannot continue to allow that state of affairs because it undermines the efforts that we are putting in, something inaudible, the colleagues in ensuring there's peace and stability in the country. And then at line 13 on page 7, she says this. As the police, therefore, we have deployed these various means in order to make sure that today we end this violence. My wish, and the wish of the South African police leaders, is that we will end it still amicable. I think she means amicably. We will end it still amicable and very danger-free. But I want to caution us all. There's something I can't talk about. What will happen? It's only God that knows. My prayer with you all is that today we're going to be able to, I think the word must be end these things, and then he goes on to deal with something else. So it's clear, is it not, that at that media conference, at 9:30, she told the assembled media, and thereby the world, that the situation at Marikana was going to end that day. It was either going to end amicably, because the miners were going to hand their weapons, be disarmed, hand their weapons over voluntarily, and if they didn't do so, they would have to be forced to do so. That must follow from what she said. Is that right?
Yes, Chairperson.
She had therefore made the decision already before 9:30 on Thursday. In fact, I think she made it the Wednesday night, but we won't go there because you don't know about that. But
Yes,
quite
Chairperson.
clearly, by 9:30 on Thursday morning, she had not only made the decision that that day, if the miners didn't hand over their weapons voluntarily, they would be forcibly disarmed and dispersed. Isn't that right?
With this statement is correct, Chairperson.
That's right. So, and she told that, you didn't know she was going to say that in advance, did you? She didn't speak to you really? Annandale was surprised. General Annandale said he was surprised when he heard it. I take it you were surprised too, weren't you?
Chairperson, now that I see these words of what the God will only know, then that is one that really, will I say, it surprised me.
Yeah.
But with the matter being ending, that's what I explained. I was thinking that she was referring to what I told her about Mr. Matunjo.
Yes.
But to say what will happen, it's only God that knows. That one
You see, she says we want to do it amicably, but what she's also saying is that we're going to end this violence today. It's going to end. We're going to end it. So that being so, I don't understand what decision you could have made and conveyed to her at 1 o'clock. The decision was already made and conveyed to the world. Isn't that correct?
Chairperson, in terms of this, I understand it's correct, but as I said earlier on, I was doing the work as an overall commander to say that, and that's why I say at that time, 13:30.
Yes. No, I understand that. Now, I want to ask you something else about this decision of yours. So there's something else I want to ask you about the decision you say you made. Would I be correct in saying that that decision, if you made it, was the most important thing you did on the 16th as overall commander? The most important thing you did that day was to make that decision, is that right?
I'm requesting the Chairperson to repeat the question. Okay.
What I'm saying to you is, would I be correct in saying that that decision, if you made it, was the most important thing you did on the 16th of August? You did obviously other things too, but the most important thing you did, surely, was to make that decision if you did make it. Is that right?
It's correct, Chairperson.
Now, would you be kind enough to look at the the second statement you made in this matter, which is Exhibit G12. Please look at page 17. Foot to page 17. In paragraph 39, have you got it? Not yet.
Paragraph 39, Chairperson.
Yeah. At about 11 o'clock, the Provincial Commissioner, Lieutenant General Mbombo, phoned Mr. Matunjwa concerning his failure to address the protesters. He reported just outside the dock in person, where Lieutenant General Mbombo entered into dialogue with him. I overheard the conversation between the Provincial Commissioner and Mr. Matunjwa. The Provincial Commissioner inquired from Mr. Matunjwa as to why he'd gone back on his word. She reminded him of the importance of his commitment and how critical it was that he convinced the protesters to lay down their arms. Mr. Matunjwa responded by saying that he'd been at the Lonman management's offices from early morning and that management didn't want to commit to continued negotiations. He stated that was the reason for him not addressing the protesters. The Provincial Commissioner emphasized that her concern was with his commitment to finding a peaceful solution and that he had to honor his commitment to convince the group to disarm. He then proceeded to the copy. Next paragraph 40. At about 13:30, the chairperson of the Special JOCOM, Major General Annandale, acting on the instruction of the Provincial Commissioner, called a Special JOCOM meeting to evaluate the current strategy and the possible implementation of Stage 3. Now, before that, the most important thing you did that day had been done, namely the decision. You made the decision and you conveyed it to the provincial commissioner. Why didn't you mention it in the statement? I would have expected the most important thing that you did to have been recorded in that statement. How can you explain that? Oh, sorry, how do you explain it?
Yes. Chairperson, for the fact that I did not put it in my statement at that time, I did not think that I wanted to hide it. But when it came to say, but actually who made the decision, then I realized that I made a decision and I wanted to say it, that I made it at, and even at what time. And
well, the decision had already been made by the provincial commissioner herself at 9:30. I mean, what do you go to her? You say, look, you've already made a decision. You've told the world about it, but I want to tell you, I've now made the same decision. I'm telling you about it. I mean, I must tell you, I don't understand that. If I'm misunderstanding the situation, now's your chance to put me right.
Chairperson, I'm not denying of what has happened to the media. And even also the other things they came out, I did tell, as I've said, even on the 17th, I did brief the media. But with regard to this, I was just explaining what I did at what time for any other. It was to explain that also I had that decision at that time. But and also I made that decision at that time. But I'm not saying that the provincial commissioner has not yet made the decision, but as an overall commander, I also made that decision, Chairperson.
One of the points that was raised with you, I think by Mr. Bezos, he didn't raise it with you, so he raised it with Major General Annandale, but it was raised with you as well, was the question as to whether you were effectively functioning as the overall commander or whether you had been sidelined. And one of the questions you were asked related to the statement in the minutes of the meeting of 1:30 by the provisional commissioner that she had requested Major General Annandale to implement stage 3. But you asked that question, and the answer you gave was that's a question you must ask the provincial commissioner, you mustn't ask me, which I think is a fair answer in the circumstances. But there was another point that wasn't put to you that I think you must deal with, and that is that the evidence was that Major Annandale said that he wanted the operation to take place at 3:30. He'd fixed the time, in other words, at 3:30. Now, did you hear him say that at the dock?
Chairperson, yes, and I think it was also minuted.
Yeah, now, you see, if you were the overall commander, why didn't you fix the time? Wasn't it the function of the overall commander to say when the operation should take place, should commence? What's the answer to that?
Yeah, Chairperson, at that stage, I did not see it as a problem, but I was also thinking that if there could be any other problem or any other changes, since Brigadier Khalid as an operational commander was there, he could change or communicate to us.
Shouldn't you have fixed the time as overall commander at the time? Shouldn't you have done that? You see, so those people who argue that you were sidelined, they're going to rely on that fact. So they didn't put it to you, but that's why I'm putting it to you, so we get to answer. We've obviously got to keep an open mind on the questions whether you were sidelined. We'll decide that at the end of the day when we've heard all the evidence and the arguments. But that's going to be, I predict, that's going to be one of the points relied on, you see. So we must give you a chance to deal with it. So how do you deal with it?
Chairperson, what I would say is that at that time, as I say, I did not see it as a problem, knowing that if there could be any problem about time, then Brigadier Khalid will communicate. But I understand what Chairperson is saying, that I was actually supposed to say no, not 15:30 this time.
No, but you should have taken the initiative. You should have said,
Yes.
look here, I'm in charge here. I'm the overall commander. I say 3:30. The fact that you left it to Major General Annandale, and he, in fact, took the initiative and fixed the time, may be used as a fact, to argue that you were sidelined. I'm giving you a chance to deal with it, that's all.
Chairperson, knowing that Major General Annandale was chairing, as I normally do, I was checking those that I would see it could cause an immediate problem. I will stop it and change it. But as I'm saying on that day, I couldn't see it that way. But as I understand is that I should actually have said, but no, not 15:30, maybe at what time?
Now, in the statement that I was quoting to you from, which is Triple G 12, you said this in the last paragraph, 56. I wish to state that if I'd been told immediately after scene 1, but before scene 2, that people had been killed, I would have directed the police members to do a show of force and contain the situation while attending to the scene around the kraal. Effectively, I would have directed that we do the same thing that I'd done on Monday, 13 August. Now, so does that, you say if I'd been told that people had been killed, but I take it you didn't have to be told in as many words. If you realized that people had been killed, you would have done that. Is that right?
Correct, Chairperson. If I realize or if I was made being aware.
Yes, yes, answer.
Yes.
Would you have only done that if you'd realized that people were actually killed, or would it have been enough for you to do what you say you would have done if you'd realized that there was a very strong possibility, if not probability, that people had been killed?
Perhaps the witness doesn't understand the difference between
Well, let him
probability
say he doesn't
and
understand.
possibility.
Do you understand the question, or don't you?
Chairperson saying with the probability or...
It was strong probability. I originally said possibility, I withdraw that. If you'd realized that there was a strong probability that people had been killed, you didn't know they actually were killed, but there was strong probability, it was very probable that they were, would you have also acted as you say here in paragraph 56? Or did you have to know they were actually killed before you did before you would have done what you describe here in paragraph 56?
Yes, Chairperson, and that, as I have explained it in my statement, that it was, I said it with the benefit of hindsight.
Yes, I understand. But so you agree with me then, or don't you? Do you agree with me that even if you hadn't been told that people had died, even if you hadn't realized that definitely people had died, but there was a strong probability, it was very probable that people had died, would you also have acted as you say here in paragraph 56?
Correct, Chairperson.
Right. Now, in the occurrence book, there is... In the occurrence book, there is an entry which I want to read to you. It's on page, it's exhibit triple F 25. It's paragraph 25, and it's note 1017. It reads as follows. If you want to see it, you can, but it's quite short. 1555, I'm not sure the time's right, but I think it's probably more or less. Situation report. Papa 1 reporting the group are moving to TRT members, and they try to attack them. Papa 1 reporting that the people are moving around and some are down. Now, I think you told us that you actually heard that over the radio when you walked to the helicopter. Is that right?
Correct, Chairperson.
Now, the implications of that surely were clear to you. The group means the strikers, isn't it?
Correct, Chairperson.
Now, originally, the people the TRT were going to be behind the POP people, weren't they?
Yes, Chairperson.
The POP people were going to use less than lethal force, right? Water cannon, tear gas, stun grenades, and so on. Is that right?
Correct, Chairperson.
If those methods weren't enough to disperse the people, deter them from advancing, then the plan was, as I understand it, the POP people were going to take refuge in the Inyalas. Is that right? And the TRT people would take over, because the POP people wouldn't be able to defend themselves against an attack by armed strikers. Do I understand the plan correctly?
Correct, Chairperson.
Now, the fact that this report said that the group are moving to TRT members clearly conveys that the POP people got out of the way, the TRT people are now in the front line, and the note continues, they try to attack them. Now, that obviously means the strikers, not the TRT people. Now, if the strikers had tried to attack the TRT people, what would the TRT people have done in response? They would have defended themselves, I take it. Is that right?
Correct, Chairperson.
They would have used their assault rifles and fired at the advancing strikers. Is that right?
Correct, Chairperson.
I know that wasn't intended as the first part of the plan. The first part of the plan was the POP people would deal with them with less than lethal force, but obviously that stage had been passed. The TRT people would have fired with their assault rifles. Some of the group would have been injured, at the very least, or possibly killed. Isn't that right?
Correct, Chairperson.
And that's why when the report went on, people are moving around and some are down. Surely that would have indicated to you that there was, to put it gently, a strong probability that people had been killed. You heard that? Do you agree with that proposition that I put to you?
Chairperson, with the proposition I agree, but when it was said by Papa One, I couldn't understand, because Papa One, it was Brigadier Khalid. And now, to me, I couldn't understand where was Brigadier Khalid by then? Because if he says it's Papa One and it's Brigadier Khalid, there was a confusion there.
Yeah, but wherever he was, does his actual position matter? He was clearly in a position to see what was happening. And what he saw was a group of strikers advancing on the TRT members, which means the POP people are already gone, trying to attack them with an obviously predictable consequence. And then after that, some were down. Now, surely that conveyed, being realistic about the matter, as a high degree of probability that some people had been shot and were, at the very least, lying injured. Isn't that right?
Correct, Chairperson.
Well, if that's so, why didn't you act as you say you would have acted in Para 56?
Chairperson, why I was talking about Brigadier Khalid, because the policy in public order policing says that if the people have regrouped, because have regrouped again, you should continue disarming the people. But now, Papa One, that report in the OB, that's why I'm saying if it was real Brigadier Khalid, then I couldn't understand why it could not have been said is him. But with the benefit of the hindsight, Chairperson, as I said, he said also he did not even see that people have died.
Does it matter who it was? If someone in Papa One gave that report over the radio, a person concerned wouldn't have made it up, wouldn't have broadcast false information. Whoever said it, you heard it, and there was no reason to not believe it. Is that right?
I think my problem was there because when the operation is in the hands of the operational commander, actually he is the one, because what I was afraid of is to confuse the people, to give an instruction where I was not there on the scene, because probably of what was happening, that is what was my problem at that time.
Yeah, but you see, the problem is you were the overall commander. You tell us in Para 56 what you would have done in a certain circumstance. it appears that that circumstance or something close to it existed. You say you would have then issued a direction to the police members to do a show of force and contain the situation while attending the scene around the crowd. And effectively, you would have stopped the advance to scene 2, because the situation would have been frozen. The situation could then have been assessed, what was happening, and then the situation at scene 2 might well have been dealt with differently. That's effectively what you're saying, isn't it? And that would have saved, is that right?
In a sense of saying, particularly for Brigadier Khalid, as I've explained that with regard to General Naidu and Kid, I could not have done anything, Chairperson, because that was not reported to me.
I understand.
Yes.
But if you'd said everyone must do what you've said here in 56, I take it Kid and Naidu would have heard that too. If you'd said that what you say in 56 you would have done, and I take it Kid and Naidu would have heard you also, wouldn't they?
They could have heard me, yes, Chairperson.
And if that had happened, then there is difficult to predict what exactly would have happened, but it does look as if some of the killings at scene 2, some at least the killings at scene 2 mightn't have happened. Is that right?
Chairperson, I am not sure, as I understand from General Naidu and Captain Kidd. And as I'm saying, Chairperson, again, it was my problem to say, but where was Brigadier Khalid and why it was not reported by him? But I was afraid of confusing the members on the ground.
Yeah. If you've taken the risk of confusion, the results might have been different, but let's not take that any further. The next paragraph I want to deal with is paragraph 52 and 53 of that statement, page 22. This is triple G 12 again, paragraphs 52 and 53. If you've got them in front of you, it's page 22.
Chairperson, is paragraph?
52 and 53.
Oh, yes, Chairperson.
Page 22. Have you got them?
Yes, Chairperson.
In 52, you tell us that you went back to the jock after having been in the helicopter for about 20 minutes, and you say how you arrived. When you arrived at the jock, you inquired whether the scene was being attended to. You're now telling us what happened when you got back at the jock, which must have been, I don't know exactly when, but sometime after 4:15, probably closer to 4:30. Is that right? Am I right?
Correct, Chairperson.
So you went back to the jock, you inquired whether the scene was being attended to. Brigadier von Sale confirmed so. Brigadier Pretorius said the IPID had been informed. Major General Naidu confirmed he was taking the emergency medical services based at Forward Holding Area 1 to the Kopi. Next paragraph. I immediately left for the Marikana police station with Brigadier Siboloki. I found the conditions not conducive. The police station was under renovation, didn't have power, cells to detain the arrested. I approached mine management, and SAPS was provided with a processing space a short distance from the jock to utilize as a processing centre. Now, that, according to this statement, made by you in November, appears to have taken place immediately after what's set out in 52, paragraph 52, which was after you got back to the jock for having been in the helicopter. It didn't happen in the morning. It happened in the afternoon, after you got back to the jock from the helicopter. That's what this paragraph says. Is that wrong?
Chairperson, you are interpreting correct, but what I was actually trying to explain here, and that's what you even asked me, did you approach them? I was going to check what was given to Brigadier Sibuluki and Van Zyl in the morning. I wanted to confirm it myself, and also to make sure that what we tasked them in the morning is actually have happened.
I don't understand that. Why didn't you just phone them up and say, look, I received a report about the situation at your police station. We've got some arrested people we want to detain. Have you got cells in which we can detain them? And have you got power? And you didn't have to go there, did you?
Chairperson, with my experience with some of the members, they will say things are right and when you wanted to actually to effect what they have said to you, you normally find it very
And understand that,
different.
but this is the converse case. You'd been told in the morning, as I understand it, that things weren't right. Isn't that correct? They didn't tell you in the morning, yeah, sure, bring as many arrested people as you can find. We can accommodate them. They told you that they're not, according to you. You were told, you didn't inquire yourself. I think you asked someone else to inquire for you. But you were told that there was this problem, weren't you?
In the morning, Chairperson, we were told that this is the condition of the police station.
Yeah.
And then I said to Brigadier Sibuluki and Fansel, because they were given different tasks, probably. Precisely each one of them knew what was given. But when I was given the feedback, then I had just to confirm what was said there could actually have been correct.
See, thank you. Now, I want to move on to another topic. I think it's been put over and over again in this commission, and I think it's accepted by SAPS, that it's not a crime to take part in an unprotected strike. If you take part in an unprotected strike, you run severe civil consequences. You can be dismissed, and you can't get an order that you be reinstated.
Chair,
it's not a crime.
Chair, that's not a correct legal position.
It is, as a matter of fact. I'm not prepared to argue with you now. That is correct. Shall we carry on? It's not a crime. That's the legal proposition I'm putting. It's not a crime to take part in an unprotected strike. You accept that?
Chair, that's not a correct legal proposition.
Is it a crime?
Yes, it is a criminal offence, Chair.
To do what?
Which is punishable
What?
by a term of imprisonment or
Under
a fine.
what section of the Labour Relations Act?
No, it's not the Labour Relations Act. It's the Regulation of Gatherings Act, Chair.
No, we're not talking about gatherings. We're talking about taking part in an unprotected strike. It's a different matter.
I beg your pardon.
Yes, all right. You withdraw your objection before I overrule it.
Absolutely, Chair.
Good.
Absolutely.
Now, let's go back to where we were. It's not a crime to take part in an unprotected strike. You accept that? You accept that?
I will accept it,
Right.
Chairperson.
And I think, to be fair to you, you made it quite clear on the 13th when you addressed the strikers by the railway line. You weren't going to deal with them for taking part in a strike. All you were concerned about was the violence, and the violence which was rendered probable by the fact that they were in possession of dangerous weapons. Is that right?
Correct, Chairperson.
And I think it's also fair to say that the police attitude was, up to a certain point, was consistent in that regard. I think Lieutenant Colonel McIntosh also stressed, did he not, that we're not concerned with the strike. That's between you and Lonman. And we're not dealing with that. We are just concerned about the dangerous weapons. Is that correct? It was because the dangerous weapons were there that the section that Mr. Ngwana refers to comes into operation, because the gathering then became an illegal gathering because the people were armed. That's correct, isn't it?
It's correct, Chairperson. Maybe I may add that also with the killings and the...
Yes.
Okay,
No,
yes, Chair.
no, what had happened, of course, there are there are unprotected strikes and unprotected strikes. There are unprotected strikes that are peaceful. There's nothing wrong with them as far as the criminal law is concerned. There are unprotected strikes which people try to enforce by violence, intimidation and violence, in some cases even murder. So if there's an unprotected strike which people are trying to enforce by murder and mayhem, the police have to deal with that to uphold the criminal law, to arrest the murderers, arrest the intimidators, and deal with the situation from a law and order perspective. Is that correct?
Correct, Chairperson.
But it's not the police's job to end the strike. That's a civil matter. That's between the strikers and the employers. And you, to be fair, acted consistently in accordance with that principle. Is that correct?
Correct, Chairperson.
As did Lieutenant Colonel McIntosh. Right?
Correct, Chairperson.
Now, you were present at the media conference addressed by the provincial commissioner at 9:30. You were, I think, given a copy of Triple H 40. Would you look at it again, please? Turn this time to page 11. You got it? Would you look at line 18, please? Now remember, she's already said that we're going to end the situation today. And now, in answer to a question, I think, from one of the reporters there, she says this: I think the question that relates to that, I'm saying, we are ending the strike today. Now, it wasn't the intention of the police to end the strike, was it? That, we've agreed, would have been inappropriate. That wouldn't have been enforcing the criminal law. That would have been invading the civil sphere. So when she said we are ending the strike today, she wasn't correct, was she?
I would say, Chairperson, I don't know how she said it.
Well, I read you what she said from the transcript.
But actually what I would say that it was to say to end what was happening.
Well, that's not the language she used. She earlier spoken about violence, I think, but now she says she's going to end the strike. Now, did you remonstrate with her afterwards and say, look here, Provincial Commissioner, we're not here to end the strike. That would be an improper exercise of police power. We are simply here to end the violence. Did you say that, sir?
Chairperson, I didn't say it. Actually, when she gave the speech or talk there, I didn't see any speech that was written, as is normally done, as I've indicated earlier, to say whether was there any speech prepared or was it prepared by somebody else. These notes, as the Chairperson can see it, we found them after the media briefing. And then what he has said, sometimes you might not have been understanding it in the manner that is now written here. And I think that is, as a result of that, Chairperson, I did not go to her and say, but it's not our work to end up the strike.
You see, if you read the whole transcript, you'll see that after she'd made the initial remarks, part of which I quoted you, they then took questions, and she got questions from various journalists there. And then she answered the questions, you see? And the paragraph I've read you now is an answer to one of the questions. So she wasn't speaking from prepared speech at that stage. She was ad-libbing, as we would say. Now, the point is, it was quite a serious statement for her to make. We're ending the strike, which we've agreed, would not be an appropriate exercise of police power. You agree with that?
Yeah, that one I agree, Chairperson.
No, so you're the Deputy Commissioner. So why don't you go to the Provincial Commissioner and say, look, perhaps afterwards, it might have been a bit embarrassing to do it there in front of the journalists, but afterwards to say to her, look, for heaven's sake, we're not here ending the strike. If that's what you think, you must disabuse your mind of that immediately. You say you were silent, you never raised it with her at all.
Chairperson, now that the Chairperson put it also in perspective to say she was answering the questions, she did not answer all the questions, and when we were all there. There were other medias that were late where she could go there, like I remember of the ETV. But there were other medias where I was present. That's why I'm saying this, if this was said in my presence, and I agree, Chairperson, that I should have done it. But as I have explained earlier on, my interpretation, as I said, there were no notes. But if it was done by ETV, then I would say to the Chairperson, I was not there.
Understand, not on evidence that I've heard in the Commission, but I understand from a recording I heard that she also said something like that on the ENCA interview afterwards. We'll end the strike. But I didn't ask you about that because I assumed you weren't present. That's something that she presumably will be asked about when she gives evidence.
Correct.
Anyway, I put my questions to you. Thank you very much. Anyone wish to ask any questions arising from any of the questions I asked?
Yes, I do, Chair. May I go ahead, Chair? General, you were asked by the Chairman whether you agree that the strikers on the 13th of August 2012 may have thought that they were being fired at with live ammunition when the stun grenade was thrown. You remember that?
Correct, Chairperson.
Did you know what the strikers were thinking when Lieutenant Baloyi threw a stun grenade at them on the 13th of August 2012?
Chairperson saying that at that time, did I know what they were thinking?
Yes, did you know what they were thinking?
At that time, I did not know, but what I'm saying now, with what they are saying to the statement, is that the sounds of the stun grenade, that could have given them to say that that could have been a firearm.
No, that's not what I'm asking, General. On the 13th of August 2012, stun grenade is thrown. At that time, it suggested to you that the strikers may have thought they were being fired at with live ammunition. Did you, at the time when the stun grenade was thrown by Lieutenant Baloyi, know what the strikers were thinking? Did you know what was going on in their minds?
No, but what I'm saying, okay. I'm sorry, Chairperson. I always like to explain. So.
Explain. It's important to be given a chance to explain. It was never put to you that that's what you thought at the time, but Mr. Ngwana is entitled to ask you whether you realized it at the time, and I understood you to say you didn't. With hindsight, you recognize it's so. But if you want to explain something further, go ahead. Use your evidence.
In my explanation is with the sounds of they could have think at that time, but not that I could have realized that that is what they were thinking.
The chairperson put to you that you must have foreseen the possibility of bloodshed, perhaps not on the scale at which it happened. You remember that?
Correct, Chairperson.
Oh, sorry, that's not the question. I just put this as a note.
Perhaps, actually, I think he said, and I didn't suggest that there was anything wrong with it, that he did not foresee, I think I indicated that, didn't I? Did not foresee bloodshed on the scale that took place.
Yes, that's why I only put it as a note, Chair. General, there was also a proposition put to you, which had been put by Mr. Bizos some time ago, about your being sidelined. One of the indications, it was alleged, was that the instruction was given to Major General Annandale to implement Stage 3 and not to you, who were a CJOC. Did you have reason to disagree? Well, let me start this. Was Major General Annandale your deputy as a CJOC in the hierarchy?
Correct, Chairperson. That's also what.
Did you have any reason to disagree with him saying the implementation should start at 3:30?
No, as I said, that I didn't see it as a problem at the time.
That decision to start at 3:30, was there any discussion about it prior to it being recorded as a discussion? As a decision?
No, Chairperson. The only thing that I remember, General Arendale, it was that it should be done before it becomes sunset.
Was there no discussion about that?
No, it was raised there already to say, at least let us start by 13:30, so that it could not take us until it is very late and it is dark.
You are referred to F25, entry 1017, and with your finger on that, you are also referred to G12, paragraph 56 of your second statement. I recall your first statement was an IPID statement. G12, paragraph 56. And it was put to you that you would have known, with reference to entry 1017 and triple F25, that people would have been shot, some of them injured, perhaps some of them killed when they attacked the TRT. That was a situational report at 1017. You recall that?
Correct, Chairperson.
When or did you hear that situational report on your radio?
I did hear when it was said that the people were attacked. What is it? The group were moving and attacking TRT.
When did you hear it? Do you remember?
No, it is on the radio. It was on the radio.
Yes, at roughly what time, if you remember?
I would not be precise with the time, but it was the time when I was going to the chopper.
With reference to what you say in paragraph 56 of your statement, let's read it together, General. It's Exhibit Triple G4. This is what you say, and I quote. Have you got it with you?
Is it Triple G?
12, I beg your pardon. Triple
Yes,
G12,
yes.
paragraph
I do have
56.
Triple G12, yes.
You say, I wish to state that if I had been told immediately after scene 1, but before scene 2, that people had been killed, I would have directed that police members do a show of force and contain the situation while attending to the scene around the crawl. Effectively, I would have directed that we do the same thing that I had done on Monday, 13 August 2012. Now, as CJOG, would you have been able to stop the operation from the dizzy heights of the coin security chopper?
Interrupt you.
Let me
Interrupt the
rephrase
question.
that.
But were you in the dizzy heights in the coin helicopter when you heard that over the radio? I understood you were on the ground walking towards the helicopter. Is that right?
Correct, Chairperson.
Would you have been able to stop that operation without the concurrence of the operational commander?
No, Chairperson. As I want to explain this, because even though the entry said Papa 1, that was my worry to say, but Papa 1 should be Brigadier Khalid's, and as an operational commander, he should, because he's in a better view to see what is happening. So that is where the confusion came, as I've said. So that's why I could not have done it. I expected Brigadier Khalid's to do it. But if is that the people were really dead, then I could have stopped it.
Could you have stopped it without visuals of what was going on at the scene, General?
No, Chairperson, and this is what already I've said, because I expected that Brigadier Khalid will say people have died, at least if that could have been confirmed by Brigadier Khalid.
So when you say in paragraph 56 of Triple G12, if I had been told immediately after the scene, you're not saying if I were at the scene. If you had been told and you are at the jog, you have no visuals, you don't see what's going on at the scene, would you have been able to stop without the visuals, without seeing what is going on at the scene?
Without the visual, I could not have done. But what I was talking, okay, because even on the radio, as I said, it was not clear, even though it was reported to say by Papa 1. But my worry was that, have people died or not?
I'm not sure what the elaboration is about. General, let me ask it finally. This is the last question I'm putting to you on this issue of paragraph 56. You are at the jog. You receive a situational report that strikers are attacking TRT. TRT are shooting in self-defense or private defense. Some of the strikers are down. You hear this on the radio at the jog. You're not seeing anything, right? You're not the operational commander. You're sitting there, you're the CJOG. Is it within your power to stop the operation just by hearing, not seeing, and without consulting the operational commander who sees things?
No, Chairperson. As I've said, I do not want to confuse.
Thank you, Chair. Those are the questions.
Chair, just one small point, with your leave.
Yes.
And this arises
You
really...
can even ask if it's a big point.
Chair, this arises in the context of the questioning which you had with General Mbembe earlier, in the context of Triple H40. Now, you will recall, Chair, that on the 10th of August, it's a Friday, Lonmin obtained a court order which declared, among other things, the strike unprotected. Now, that order was served on both unions and was displayed on the notice boards. So to the extent that the strikers embarked upon the strike beyond the 10th of August, they were in contempt of a court order. We thought we must just bring it to your attention, Chair.
Question about... Sorry. I take it that's an issue that can be argued later, but it is common cause there was such an order.
The point, Chair,
You know, I think I understand what the point is. But if you want to elaborate on it, you may do so. You don't want to elaborate on it. You just made the point. Right?
the point, Chair. Thanks.
Anyone else want to ask questions arising? Seems not. We will adjourn now until Thursday morning at 9 o'clock. So I've explained already what will happen between now and then. The General, you're excused. Thank you for your attendance over this long period and for the evidence you gave. And as I've said before, those who wish to oppose the application for postponement must file their papers with the Secretary of the Commission before close of business on Tuesday, and obviously arrange that copies are given to the other parties. And the application for postponement will be argued on Friday. We will now adjourn. I'm being overruled again when I adjourn the proceedings. Do you want to say? You understand? You want to say something?
Chairperson, it was to express my gratitude in the manner in which the commissioners and esteemed commission, they have asked me and they have guided me in giving this evidence, and to me it was also a learning curve. And I could be able to put the story the way in which I understand what could have happened. Thanks, Chairperson.
Thank you, General. We now will adjourn.